What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's jutsu affected Hinata, and she couldn't resist him anymore? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto-chan, over here? Hinata asked, a little to the left. And lather it on a little thicker, Naruto instructed. Iruka stood watching them clean the Hokage monument with a bemused expression. Naruto, why is Hinata helping you scrub the Hokage monument? He asked. Actually, we're not scrubbing, we're giving it a sponge bath. Naruto explained. But, we have people for that. With a schedule. Why are you? Iruka trailed off. The other Chunin gathered behind Iruka looked at him nonplussed. So we heard Naruto was playing a prank, one of them remarked. But she's just cleaning the Hokage monument. With bubble bath apparently. Another one continued. Okay, I'm confused. Naruto, why are you cleaning the Hokage monument with bubble bath? Iruka yelled up at her questioningly. Okay, Hinata-chan take over for me, Naruto ordered. Hinata nodded and returned to scrubbing the second Hokage's nose. Naruto jumped down to greet the assembled Chunin and the Hokage who had come to gawk. Old man, Iruka-sensei, she greeted. Iruka sighed. Naruto, show some respect. It's okay Iruka, the Hokage chuckled. Hello Naruto. Why are you giving my venerated ancestors a bubble bath again? Naruto plopped down on the floor and put on a thoughtful expression. Originally, I wanted to put makeup on the Hokage faces up here. Then I realized how much that would cost, to buy enough foundation and lipstick and eyeshadow. Yikes. So I was going to graffiti up the monument instead when I remembered what Hinata-chan told me. And here she trailed off apparently recalling whatever it was Hinata had told her. And that is, Iruka prompted. Naruto's eyes snapped wide open. Right, she told me to stop doing juvenile things and that I was going to graduate soon so I had to act like an adult. So I decided that instead I would give the Hokage faces all a nice good clean and impress everyone. Consider equals my thoughtfulness is a sign of my new maturity. Maturity befitting of a Hokage. Iruka cracked a smile. So that was what she was doing. Nice try, he said, ruffling her hair, but have you ever heard of a 12-year-old Hokage? The other assembled Chunin started to laugh. The Hokage too indulged in a good hearty chuckle. I'll put you on my list of potential heirs, he promised Naruto. And your friend too who is also diligently scrubbing away. What? Hinata-chan doesn't want to be a Hokage, she wants to get married and have lots of babies. Naruto stared at the Hokage in confusion. At this Iruka let out a snort. I'll take that into consideration, the Hokage promised. Then, since there appears to be no need to stop Naruto and Hinata from what they are doing, if everyone could, he trailed off. The Chunin immediately dispersed, though some of them hung around a while back to watch the rare sight of Naruto and Hinata giving the Hokage monument a bubble bath. Are you sure you don't want to stop them? Iruka asked, watching his blonde student rapidly ascend the cliff face and get back to work. Not at all. This will save us maintenance money, the Hokage smiled. A prank like this is actually quite refreshing, don't you think, Iruka? And then Naruto found herself sneaking into the Hokage tower in the middle of the night. How the hell had this happened anyway? If it wasn't for Mizuki-sensei my awesome ninja life would be over. Naruto shivered in horror. Thank God Mizuki-sensei had come through for her. Well, somehow she managed to make her way to the scroll without encountering anyone until she ran straight into the third Hokage's very surprised chest. Ah shit. White trauma jutsu, she half whispered, half shouted. The Hokage collapsed to the floor, eyes rolling back in his head, and Naruto felt a little guilty. That was a jutsu she had never imagined using on another leaf shinobi. She just hoped the old man would shrug it off. Ehehehe. Maybe this was a bad idea? But I do have to graduate after all. She resolved to send the Hokage a letter of apology and some expensive chocolates. Sorry, old man, she hastily apologized as she fled the tower and headed to the clearing that Mizuki-sensei had told her about, the one he had assured her would be deserted. Setting the surprisingly large scroll on her lap, she carefully unrolled it. So, I just have to learn one of these. She decided to learn two instead. Maybe if I learn two techniques, Iruka-sensei will be so impressed he'll pass me twice and I'll get two Hittites. Then I can wear one on my arm and one on my forehead. Naruto shivered at the thought of how awesomely cool that sounded. Definitely befitting of a Hokage. So Chakra, Pulse and Shadow Clone. I'll learn the Pulse first then, it looks pretty easy. And the clones are, well, clones. Not easy. She decided to learn the first two techniques on the scroll instead of wasting time and reading the whole damn thing and then deciding. Iruka-sensei would have found her long before she ever got to the back of this Hujas scroll. She better give me a damn good apology and a whole carton of chocolates. And not just any chocolates but the good stuff, the Hokage thought irritably. He loved Naruto, he really did, but that had been far from sporting. He had sent out a whole team of Chunin to find her and was now watching events play out before him on his crystal ball. Iruka had already found her, luckily enough, but then so had that white-haired upstart, Mizuki. Unfortunately he didn't have enough information to go there and punch Mizuki himself, so he would have to rely on Iruka to do it for him. He had to sit here and see if any relevant information about Mizuki's possible motives for the theft came up from the Chunin he had sent investigating. Iruka was more than a match for Mizuki anyway. Shit, the Hokage thought, eyes widening in shock. Unless Naruto was involved, apparently. The Hokage kept his eyes trained on his crystal ball impatiently. That damn Mizuki, impaling his favorite academy teacher like that. He just hoped Naruto got in a good punch on Iruka's behalf. Or an exploding tag, that would work too. Meanwhile, at the scene that the Hokage was currently watching, Iruka-sensei? Naruto looked up in shock at the man who had just saved her life. Naruto, I got here in time, Iruka smiled. He was so relieved. Naruto's form started to tremble under him. Why would you sacrifice yourself for me? Iruka-sensei. In her panic she'd snapped and started yelling at him. Geez, it's not like he's dead or anything, Mizuki rolled his eyes. He's just got himself impaled on my Fuma shuriken like a self-sacrificing idiot, that's all. Privately, Iruka agreed. He probably could have handled the situation better, but he had just been so worried about Naruto. Naruto, I'm sorry. I know what it's like, being by yourself all the time. I know how lonely it can be. Unlike you, I at least got some time with my family before I lost them, but you. I should have been there for you. Tears started dripping out of his eyes, landing on Naruto's face who was beneath him. Tears started dripping out of Naruto's eyes too. I was just like you. Doing stupid things to get attention, but Naruto, you're much stronger than I am. You've been improving lately, even without my help. I should have been there for you and I wasn't, but all the same I'm proud of you, Naruto. Iruka choked out. It was true. He was proud of her. How touching. Should I get out my eye drops? Mizuki asked, rolling his eyes. I can fake tears just as well as Iruka, you know? Should I cry for you, Naruto? He asked. Naruto gasped and the tears in her eyes gave way to a look of betrayal. You're lying, Iruka-sensei? I thought you. Her voice cracked. Iruka could feel his new hatred of Mizuki growing even more potent. Of course I'm not, Naruto. Yes, of course he's not. Why would he lie to the demon child? It's not like he hates her for being a demon or anything, Mizuki mocked. Demon child? Naruto was gaping at Mizuki open-mouthed. You know why everyone calls me that? She accused. What, did my tone give it away? Mizuki asked dryly. Of course I know, you simpering twit, everyone knows. Only the current generation of students, you included, don't know. Mizuki, Iruka warned. You wouldn't want to go breaking any laws now, would you? He asked, deceptively sweetly. Actually, I do. I don't know why. I'm just really in the mood tonight. In fact, I've already broken a few. Mizuki crowed. Naruto, there was a law made on the day you were born. Don't mention the fact that Naruto is the Kyuubi, is the law. Don't tell Naruto, is the unspoken most important part of the law. As if not knowing about the stupid law could actually change your nature. From the moment the fourth Hokage sealed the Kyuubi into you, there has only been a monster in that body. The Kyuubi consumed the child years ago. He explained to her slowly. Naruto learned about sealing in the academy. She already knows that sealed objects don't change the container. A scroll is a scroll. A scroll holding a kunai is still a scroll. Iruka pointed out. What? Mizuki's eyes opened comically wide. I thought all she did in the academy was sleep. Are you sure she learned that? He moved his eyes to focus on Naruto's and his voice darkened. Are you sure you're not a monster? He asked her. Did you know you even killed Iruka's parents on your first birthday? No wonder he hates you. That's not true. Naruto, you've heard stories about the strong and powerful demon fox. Do you really think the Kyuubi would fail his graduation test 3 times? Do you really think the Kyuubi wouldn't even be able to completely read kanji after all these years? Do you really think that the Kyuubi would burn its tongue scarfing down ramen as soon as it arrives every time without learning its lesson like an idiot? Iruka asked. Are you calling me an idiot? Naruto asked, feeling hurt and angry. Yes, you're my idiot. You're Naruto the orange-wearing, Hinata corrupting, ramen guzzling, class-failing, Neji-chasing idiot. You're my student. No, you're more than my student. Naruto. Even someone as dense as you has to realize. I care about you. I won't let you pass a test if you're not ready because I don't want you getting hurt. Naruto, would you cut with the crappy lies already? Mizuki asked. This is just boring. Naruto, just give me the damn scroll and I won't kill you, he ordered. Naruto looked up at her teacher in confusion. She wanted to trust him. He'd bought her ramen so many times and he'd saved her from Mizuki and he said he was proud of her. No one had ever said that before. But against her wishes, doubt was rearing its ugly head and poisoning her thoughts. She couldn't think clearly. Please, I just need a sign, she begged, hoping someone was listening. The clearing was quiet as Mizuki waited for his answer save for Iruka's heavy breathing and the rustle of trees in the wind. Blood from Iruka's wound was slipping down and dripping off the sides of his Chunin vest. Please, she asked again. Without warning, Iruka's blood that should have hit the floor was hit by a sudden gust of wind and blew into Naruto's eyes. That wasn't possible. Naruto, have you made up your mind or not? Mizuki asked. Yes, Naruto stood up, hesitantly rubbing the blood out of her eyes. Yes, she blinked, I can see clearly now. The Hokage looked in disbelief at the sight of Mizuki's battered and burnt body passed out on the ground in his globe. What an inventive technique, he remarked. That was even better than a punch. He decided that Naruto's little show was amusing enough to let her somewhat off the hook regarding the technique she'd ambushed him with earlier. Iruka walked up to Mizuki, who was still giving off smoke, and stuck another explosive tag on him. Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked. For luck, Iruka replied. It won't kill him, unfortunately. Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked. Yes? Iruka replied. That stuff you said earlier. Did you mean it? Naruto asked. Iruka looked at her in surprise. You're still doubting what I said? Of course I meant it. Naruto, I love you. I tried not to admit to myself, but, he admitted. Naruto's cheeks turned pink. I love you too, Iruka-sensei, she reciprocated shyly. He's just like what I imagine a strict aunt would be like. Iruka flushed. Somehow it felt so embarrassing to admit that he loved her, that he saw her like a little sister. Well, talking about your feelings wasn't supposed to be very manly, so maybe that was why? Iruka walked up to Naruto. Naruto, close your eyes, he ordered. Naruto flashed him a trusting smile and promptly closed her eyes. Iruka had to force himself not to take a moment to feel touched, instead tying his hitate around her head. Congratulations on graduating, Naruto, he said. Naruto opened her eyes and reached her hands up to feel for the hitate. Wow, she smiled cheesily. Maybe she didn't need 2 Hishiates after all. Having Iruka-sensei's was more than enough. And that's what happened after we split for the day, Naruto told Hinata with a blush on her face. You're terrible at narrating, Naruto-chan, Hinata told her frankly. What? Why? I thought it was all really touching. Naruto protested. Yeah, just maybe a little bit too touching. I felt like someone was reading me a romance novel. Hinata explained. Naruto's face turned completely red. Did it really sound like that? She asked, burying her face in her hands. Truthfully, yes, Hinata answered. This is so mortifying. Please just kill me and get it over with, or I might just die of embarrassment. Naruto begged. Hinata giggled. I'm just teasing you, Naruto-chan. But really, you couldn't tell that Iruka-sensei loved you? He was always buying you ramen and everything. Naruto flushed. You're mean, Hinata-chan. And I couldn't tell. It had never crossed my mind that anyone might love me. Oh Naruto, Hinata smiled at her sadly. I love you. But that's obvious. Naruto grinned. You say that all the time. Well, the Hokage loves you. And Tuchi and Ayame at Ichiraku's sure do. They're always asking me how you're doing whenever I go there without you, Hinata said. Naruto looked at her disbelievingly. Nah, no way. They just think I'm funny, that's all. But contrary to her words, a pleased and embarrassed flush was making its way up her neck. Hinata smiled at her. You know they do. And you love them too. There are plenty of people that love you, Naruto-chan. Not Neji. Naruto countered with a mischievous smile. Not yet. Hinata smirked. Not yet. Naruto agreed with another sneaky smile and an enthusiastic high five. Naruto marched straight up to the trash can and pulled out the boy who was following her by his tufts of hair hanging over the top. She recognized him. He was the same boy who had tripped over his scarf in the Hokage's office while she was handing in her registration papers. It's not a very good disguise when I can see your scarf trailing behind you and your hair pokes out the top, she told him. The kid blinked at her in surprise. Oh, I mean, impressive. You found me. Naruto gave him an unimpressed look. You can stop trying to look cool now. There's no one here for you to impress anyway, she said. The kid pouted at her, trying to pretend he wasn't blushing. There's you. You don't have much tact, do you? What's a tact? Some kind of glue? Naruto asked. A small sweat drop materialized on the kid's head. Never mind that. I wanted to ask you to teach me the technique you defeated Gramps with. The tower officials told me about it. Naruto snorted. Kid, you couldn't pay me to teach that technique to you. I'd be paying for your therapy for years. She started to walk off. The kid ran up behind her and grabbed the sleeve of her tracksuit top. Then, teach me something else. I want to be strong like you. He pleaded. I know. You want to be strong to get all the ninja girls, right? Naruto concluded. Ah, man, she sighed, you're a typical guy. No. The kid blushed. You're a pervert. I am not a pervert. I hate perverts. In certain circles I'm even known as Naruto the Pervert Buster. Naruto complained. Woo. The kid stared up at her with stars in his eyes. So will you teach me a technique? The kid asked hopefully. Sure. Actually I was going to teach you anyway because you're cute and I like cute things, Naruto shrugged. You know Mo, right? I've actually got a bit of a weakness for it, she confessed. I'm not cute, I'm cool and handsome. The kid protested. Naruto giggled at his words. No, you're totally cute. You've still got baby teeth. Your scarf is too big for you and you're so tiny. She exclaimed, holding together her thumb and index finger to show the kid how tiny he was. Are you done making fun of me? The kid asked, looking anything but flattered. Yep, let's go. Naruto grabbed his hand and started dragging him away. The kid couldn't help but wonder if it wasn't too late to ask someone else for techniques, someone who maybe didn't wear an all-orange ensemble. Sue, this technique I've just taught you may seem simple but don't be deceived. This technique is my foundation for my most powerful techniques. Remember to be inventive and don't just stick to making Y-girls all the time. Naruto lectured. The kid transformed out of the buxom brunette he had invented and stared at Naruto with stars in his eyes. Really? Really, really? Yes. Naruto laughed. Show me one, show me one. The kid pleaded. Okay then. Why jutsu your type? Naruto formed the ram seal and was enveloped in a cloud of smoke. When the smoke cleared, a diminutive girl with gleaming black hair and green eyes about Konohamaru's age stood in front of him in a tasteful white and red kimono. The kid blushed. Wow, incredible boss. How did you know I like traditional girls? He asked. I was paying careful attention. I can discern the types of most people from the way they act. Well, you get embarrassed really easily and you're pretty innocent for a boy your age, so I made an educated guess. Naruto explained. The Y-jutsu your type is harder to pull off, but it's way more effective and it doesn't just rely on appeal in every case. The kid quickly pulled out a notepad from his trouser pocket and furiously started writing down everything she was saying. Can I try it out on you? He asked after he'd finished writing everything down. Go ahead, Naruto smiled. Well, unless he transforms exactly into Neji it's not going to work. She thought wryly. Why jutsu your type? The kid was enveloped with smoke and when it cleared away Naruto was greeted with the sight of a guy with dark hair and small braids all hanging down and orange pants. He was topless and he had a dragon tattoo winding around his torso. Hey gorgeous, he winked. Naruto burst into laughter. Nice try, kid. She walked up to his transformation and scrutinized it, walking around to examine it from all angles. Interesting choice though. Going for bad boy appeal with a gangster? That might be a good technique actually, bad boy Y-jutsu. Keep it in mind, she critiqued. Right, the kid nodded and proofed back into himself. But why didn't it work? I was so sure you liked the confident type. Rookie mistake, Naruto explained. The all girls want bad boys is a common assumption. I like quiet, dignified guys actually. Though good job on the long dark hair. I do tend to like guys with longer hair, she admitted. Well, actually, one quiet and dignified guy with long dark hair. But there's no point in telling the kid that, she thought. So I was partially right. The kid cheered. Yeah, pretty good for a new user actually, Naruto praised him. Show me another, boss. The kid pleaded. Alright. Naruto laughed. I'll show you the version you must use if any kids are nearby, no exceptions. Wide jutsu kid safe version. You're just wearing a one piece. That's not a very inventive technique, the kid pouted. This is an important one, though. If you don't want to be bashed up by nearby girls, when kids are around use this version, Naruto explained. The kid whipped out his notepad and quickly added to his notes. Then Naruto sat down cross-legged on the floor. She was getting hungry. It was just about time to take a break. So why are you trying to bash up your granddad anyway? She asked, withdrawing a bento. There was no time for ramen so it would have to do. Right, yeah I should have introduced myself earlier, but my name is Konohamaru, the kid. No, Konohamaru replied. Ah, right you're named after the village, Naruto observed. Hello Konohamaru. Nice to meet you, I'm Naruto, she said, grabbing his hand and shaking it. Nice to meet you, Naruto, the kid replied. So my grandfather is completely devoted to this village. You can even see that by the name he got to pick for me. And the village loves my grandfather too, so by proxy they also love me. Even though I haven't done anything, they just love me for the sake of it. I want to prove I've earned that treatment by defeating Gramps and becoming Hokage. Konohamaru explained. That's not a bad goal, but you're kinda going about it the wrong way. Defeating your grandfather isn't going to make you Hokage, you know, Naruto started explaining. At that point a strange man in dark clothes and glasses appeared in the clearing, taking them both by surprise. Naruto looked at him in surprise. You're that weird guy from the Hokage office. She realized. Ebisu ignored her, grabbed Konohamaru's arm and started to walk off. Get off me. I'm going to stay here and learn how to become a strong Hokage. Konohamaru protested. To be a Hokage you have to be an outstanding shinobi in all disciplines. You must master over 1,000 jutsu. Ebisu replied. Yeah, like since when? Naruto snorted. That makes no sense at all. Why jutsu your type? Konohamaru yelled. Naruto looked at Ebisu with amusement. You have a thing for gingers? She asked. Ebisu blushed and looked away from the slightly chubby ginger in BDSM gear. Nice job picking up on his masochistic tendencies, Naruto complimented Konohamaru. The ginger-haired woman puffed out her ample chest, covered only by the stripperific leather string thing she was wearing. Thanks boss. I don't find that attractive at all, Ebisu lied. This is stupid and vulgar. This won't help you become the Hokage at all. If you stay here you will only become as stupid and vulgar as her, he declared, sneering at Naruto. I am not vulgar, I am pure and clean, yelled Naruto. Boss. You did just teach me how to transform into a hot naked chick, Konohamaru reminded her. Well, Naruto huffed, at the very least I'm more pure and clean than him, she said, giving Ebisu a dirty look. And I can prove it. Why me oh my jutsu. The brunette Ebisu girl clone tugged at her collar. Hey, wanna see if my underwear is a matching set? She grinned, tugging her top further down. The blush that had already been on Ebisus's face intensified, bypassing the colors red and purple entirely and taking on a sickly bluish-black color. Naruto and Konohamaru could practically hear his heartbeat and steam was coming out of his ears. He tried to sneer at Naruto but the blood gushing out of his nose was ruining the effect. The blood flow was thickening, it was practically a torrent, and then without warning blood spurted out so fiercely that Ebisu was sent flying across the clearing. Oh shit. Naruto hurriedly ran over and checked him for a pulse. Turning around she gave Konohamaru a versus sign for victory. He's okay, she yelled, but he might need a blood transfusion. Konohamaru stared in disbelief. He couldn't believe the devastation that had been wreaked on his teacher's body, and all with Naruto not even holding a kunai. Such a simple technique really was effective. Wow boss. Total overkill, he gasped. Naruto flushed. Yes. Maybe I should have used a different technique. That one does seem to cause a few mental issues sometimes. Still, I beat him. Yeah, you beat him. You're awesome, boss. Konohamaru cheered. Right, so what I was saying before he interrupted us was that you need to focus on getting stronger and becoming a dependable ninja. There are many people who want to be the Hokage, so you have to prove that you're better than them, and beating an old man isn't going to do that. I mean, look at me. I'm still just a graduate, you know? Naruto said. So then you're saying that I can't slack off, right? Konohamaru asked. Exactly. Naruto beamed at him. Listen to the closet pervert over there. He might be a stupid pervert, but he's honestly trying to help you become stronger. And even then you can't rest easy because my dream is to be the Hokage. You'll have to beat me first, she teased, sticking her tongue out at him. I don't know if I can. Konohamaru muttered, glancing at the pale body of his teacher. But I'll get stronger and surpass you, I just know it. Now we're rivals. Yeah, you got it. Naruto grinned. Now you go grab the closet perv's legs, I'll get his arms and let's go drag him to the hospital before he dies of blood loss. It might be a good idea to send him a letter of apology and some chocolates. Nice chocolates, Konohamaru advised. Yeah, Naruto agreed with a sheepish smile on her face. I seem to be apologizing to a lot of people recently, she thought, feeling somewhat ashamed. I hope they like Belgian chocolate. Are you serious? Naruto shifted under the unusually harsh gaze of her friend. Yes? Have I ever lied to you? You don't want me to answer that, Hinata sighed. Naruto, I let the fact that you almost gave an old man a heart attack go because you were repentant, but you sent a guy to the hospital? For a blood transfusion? What is wrong with you? I was just trying to help out the kid, Naruto replied, nervously twiddling her thumbs. The kid that you taught how to be a UAL deviant? I thought you promised me you weren't going to use that technique anymore. Hinata not quite but almost yelled. I didn't use it, I just taught him how to use it, Naruto objected. And I made sure to teach him the kid-friendly version so he wouldn't get bashed by girls. After you taught him the normal version. Naruto, he's a kid. If you had to teach him that technique you should have taught him the kid-friendly version. Hinata almost yelled at her again. Naruto buried her head in her hands and whimpered. You're scary, Hinata-chan, she whispered. Hinata sighed in exasperation and then noticed to her mortification that there were several cafe-goers eavesdropping on them. Hunching into herself, she shrunk down in her seat and waited for them to stop staring. When they finally stopped, she looked at Naruto again, who was still making piteous whimpering noises. I'm not angry with you, Naruto-chan, she sighed. Just a little disappointed and hurt. To her horror, Naruto looked at her with waterfalls pouring out of her eyes. That's even worse, she wailed. Hinata's self-preservation instincts, the ones that made her shy away from tears, kicked in. Naruto-chan, calm down. She started thumping the crying girl's back, trying to get her to quieten. Just do better next time. You can do that, right? In an instant Naruto's tears dried up and a sunny smile materialized on her face. Yeah, I won't let you down again, Hinata-chan, she beamed. Hinata felt a sweat drop materialize on her pale face. Somehow I doubt that, Naruto-chan. Somehow Naruto ended up sitting next to Sasuke instead of Hinata-chan. Just like how she'd somehow ended up sitting next to him every day. Not again, Naruto groaned to herself. The back seats always went first and Naruto never arrived early enough. Even though she and Hinata-chan had arrived at the same time today, only Hinata-chan managed to snag a seat. This sucks. Hey, can you let me through? A somewhat high-pitched voice interrupted her thoughts. Naruto barely registered it, face screwed up in concentration, trying to figure out why she always ended up stuck in this seat. And then she would have to sit next to Ino or Sakura or some other fangirl as well. At least Sakura mostly stuck to staring at Sasuke after her initial fights with the other fangirls were over. Naruto, move your ass. I want to sit on the other side of you. And then before Naruto could react, she was pushed aside so the owner of the voice could sit where she wanted. Naruto cracked open an eyelid in irritation. So today it was Sakura, who had just slammed her into the desk with her skinny knees. Great way to greet your deskmate, Sakura-chan, Naruto thought sarcastically. Normally she didn't have any problems with Sakura. A little loud and a little bossy. Audibly proud of getting the highest marks on the academy tests and rumored to have something like a diegetic memory. She didn't bother Naruto and that was the important thing, so Naruto ignored her for the most part. Hinata on the other hand was not nearly as charitable. Pink-haired asterisk asterisk asterisk. She glared at Sakura. Discreetly of course, so she wouldn't catch any attention. Hinata's devotion to Naruto sometimes overruled the nicer and more merciful parts of her personality. Naruto just stared at Sakura waiting to see if she would apologize, but she appeared to be too preoccupied with Sasuke. What do they see in him again? Naruto thought wearily. She hopped up onto the table to see if she could figure it out. His hair is stupid. And he's glaring at me. Very charming, I'm sure, if you like that kind of thing. It's not like he was bad looking, but the hair and the attitude kind of cancelled it all out in Naruto's opinion. Oh, Naruto realized. It must be the stoic thing. The whole too cool to smile thing, she muttered to herself. Sasuke would make a good wide jutsu base, she realized. Why silent jutsu? Well, he's a silent kinda guy, so. Sasuke glared at Naruto, who appeared to be glaring at him. In reality, she just had a habit of narrowing her eyes while thinking. He didn't know why she was glaring at him, but he wasn't just going to sit back and let her do it. So he glared back at her. But it was getting kind of boring. And she had very bright hair actually. Very startling blonde hair and blue eyes. Sasuke's inner hair stylist perked up. Could it be possible that she knows any clan techniques? He wondered. Good hair care was a bit of a status thing for certain clans. And Naruto had very peculiar hair for Konoha. He had actually wondered about it before. She didn't exactly look like the Yamanakas did. Was she maybe from another country? Naruto was an orphan though, so he couldn't be sure, but it was possible that she was actually descended from an important clan. Hey Naruto, about your hair. Sakura looked in horror at her two classmates. Why were they sitting so close together? Why were they staring soulfully into each other's eyes like that? Why were they both whispering to each other in hushed tones in front of the whole class? All these questions and more were never answered because, before she could drag Naruto away, an excited graduate elbowed her in the back of the head and she fell forward to meet the lips of a startled Uchiha heir. Sakura froze. Bad timing to have both their mouths open, Sakura thought in mute horror. Right, that is not the issue here. Inner Sakura retorted. No really. There could have been tongue in that exchange, Sakura numbly replied. Inner Sakura finally caught on. Fucking no. No Sasuke no. Naruto and Sasuke appeared much less affected by this event and merely nonchalantly pulled away from each other. Sorry Sasuke. I was just trying to scrutinize you, not steal a kiss from you, Naruto apologized. Don't worry about it, it was just an accident, Sasuke shrugged. No, really, I feel bad. Let me buy you a bowl of ramen? Naruto asked. That sounds like a date. Inner Sakura raged. Will it have tomatoes in it? Sasuke asked. Naruto awkwardly scratched the back of her head. Not usually. Want a salad instead? That will do, Sasuke agreed. And, I have to know, is your hair natural? Do you use any products or jutsu to make it look like that? The color too. Is that real? Naruto blinked at him in surprise. Sasuke, it's hard enough pulling a brush through this and you think I try to waste hours trying to style it on my own? She asked, pointing to her hair. Sasuke blinked owlishly back at her. You need help. I must help you. That is just a waste of perfectly good hair. And my mother would disown me if she knew Naruto barely brushes her hair and I didn't teach her better, he thought to himself. That harpy is seducing Sasuke-kun. All the fangirls thought and simultaneously glared at Naruto. That harpy is seducing Naruto-chan. Hinata thought, glaring daggers at Sasuke. Naruto and Sasuke were pulled out of their conversation by the massive amounts of killing intent directed towards them. They both looked at each other. There is only one solution, proposed Sasuke. Naruto nodded. Running away. They both said and immediately tried to run away only to find the exits blocked by fuming fangirls. And a fuming Hinata. Kiba shook his head in disgust. Aren't you all overreacting? He asked. I know right. Seriously, stuff like this happens all the time. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Just the 40-second kiss. At least it wasn't a civilian this time. Quote, Sasuke, I think that's just you, Naruto whispered. You should probably get a chastity belt for your lips or something. Okay, that's devastating and all. She paused to cry about the fact that Sasuke had been kissed 42 times and then resumed speaking, but Naruto, Sasuke's one thing. But wasn't that your first kiss? One of the fangirls reminded her. Naruto's heart stopped. Her pupils dilated. Moisture mysteriously appeared on her cheeks. "No, I'm ruined for Neji," she shrieked. "I'm no longer pure." If anything, Hinata's glare intensified. "So, you're not in love?" Ino asked dubiously. "No," Sasuke said, feeling strangely scared for his life. When Iruka entered the classroom, he was shocked to see Naruto, who he would have expected to be ecstatic at graduating with miniature waterfalls gushing out of her eyes. Could Naruto be being bullied? Iruka's eyes narrowed as he scanned the classroom. Now that he wasn't distracted, he noticed a large group of girls supplying Naruto with tissues and consoling her. He decided it was better not to ask. Everyone shut up. Iruka greeted the class in his customary fashion, while employing his big head jutsu to get them back in order. "Even though you have all graduated, you are still only genin. This is the first step of your journey. Today you will be meeting your future sensei and forming three-man teams with your classmates." Naruto couldn't care less and started examining her fingernails instead. Hinata had already explained to her that seeing as Naruto's marks were way below hers, they probably wouldn't be on the same team. On the other hand, Sasuke, inner Sakura was so concentrated on her chant she was saying it out loud without realizing and without regular Sakura's permission. Luckily for her, Sasuke was trying to think of haircare products to recommend to Naruto and didn't notice. Iruka looked at them and sweat dropped. "Well, this will be an interesting team," he thought to himself. Next, Team 7. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura couldn't contain her happiness at this and punched the air. Sasuke and Naruto both glared at each other at the same time. And then they both turned their faces away from each other and smirked. This was going to be the best rivalry ever. Then it was lunch. Hinata walked up to Naruto to give her some last-minute advice before leaving with her own teammates. "Naruto," she said, grabbing her by the shoulders, "even though I now hate both your teammates, you need to get along with them. Or you could die. I don't want you to die and you don't want to die, and Neji does not want to become a necrophiliac. Please try and get along with them for my sake, okay?" Hinata asked. Naruto blinked. Sure?" she replied unsurely. Satisfied with her answer, Hinata demurely shuffled out of the classroom, following her teammates. Naruto thought about her teammates and how to approach them. "Well, Sasuke and I are rivals now, after the whole kiss thing. So we hate each other, but we don't want to kill each other or anything. We should be fine. Sasuke is. Oh well, I think he mostly just ignores Sakura, but he might be slightly scared of her. And Sakura needs to tone the scariness down. So I should talk to her and make her less scary," Naruto decided. With that decided, Naruto walked right up to Sakura and smiled brightly at her. Sakura had mostly gotten over the whole kissing debacle thing by then, so she just smiled kindly at Naruto. "Do you need more tissues?" she asked, holding up a pack of tissues. "Or a mascara touch-up? Crying can be hard on a girl." Naruto stared at her blankly. "What's mascara?" Sakura looked at her in horror. "You need help." Against her will, Naruto found herself dragged off to the bathroom with her eyelids pried open and a thick black gooey substance applied to her eyelashes. Naruto tried to shake her off, but Sakura was determined to stick the goop on her face, so in the end Naruto gave up and let her. When she was finally done, Sakura brought Naruto in front of the mirror to proudly show off her work. Naruto couldn't see any difference at all. I feel pretty. And, I feel pudgy." Somehow Sakura managed to understand what she was trying to say. "You mean pigmented, don't you? Because the mascara is black?" Naruto's eyes snapped wide open. "Wow, yeah, you're so smart, Sakura." Naruto stared right in Sakura's eyes, feeling totally confused. "Sakura, I'm staring into your eyes because I am totally confused," she told Sakura, who had been starting to nervously back away. Sakura stopped nervously backing away. "Is it the mascara?" she asked. "No, it's you," Naruto explained. "You slammed me into a desk today. I don't get why you're being nice to me now." I don't get it." "Yeah, if you could. Please explain," Naruto gestured vaguely. Sakura flushed and looked away. "I just get excited when Sasuke comes around. I didn't mean to do that." Did I hurt you at all?" she asked. Naruto gaped at her. "That wasn't on purpose." No, it didn't hurt." Then something occurred to Naruto. Wait, I kissed your precious Sasuke-kun." She had to pause and wipe a few tears out of her eyes at this. "So shouldn't you hate me?" Sakura's eyebrows furrowed and she turned her face away and thought. Well, it was an accident. Sakura reasoned. So we should forgive her? Inner Sakura asked. Well, that was her first kiss. I feel sorry for her, I'll admit it, Sakura thought. Okay then, we forgive her. Unless there was tongue involved. Inner Sakura stipulated. Fair enough, Sakura agreed. Was there tongue involved? She asked Naruto. Lord no, Naruto made a face. Okay, I forgive you, Sakura said. That's very generous of you. Naruto replied, surprised. Well, you did just lose your first kiss and I guess we are kind of teammates now. Do you want to go outside and eat lunch together? Sakura asked. Naruto beamed at her. Sure, she chirped. I didn't even have to bribe her to get her to talk to me, she realized. As soon as they had reached a random bench outside and sat down to eat, Sakura started asking Naruto for dating advice. This was what Naruto had been trying to lead up to in the first place, so she was very pleased at this turn of events. So I was just wondering if you had any idea what kind of girl Sasuke-kun likes, Sakura asked. Some of the other girls spread false information around to sabotage each other, but I know you wouldn't do that, Naruto, since you like Neji. I've tried different approaches on him, acting cute, acting sultry, and playing hard to get. I'm fresh out of ideas. She admitted. I am so glad you came to me for help with this. Naruto beamed. I'm actually kind of disappointed in myself, Sakura thought. Why is that? She asked out loud. Because I am really good at telling people's types. I've learned how to pick up on things like that as part of my research for my jutsu techniques. Naruto grinned proudly. Against her better judgment, Sakura began to feel hopeful. So what's Sasuke-kun's type? She all but begged. He doesn't have one, Naruto shrugged. What? He doesn't have one, Naruto repeated. Is that just a nice way of saying he's gay or something? Sakura asked. Not that I would really mind that, Inner Sakura purred. You shut up. This is important, Sakura told her. Nope, I have no idea if he's gay or straight, Naruto admitted. You'll have to wait a few years for his hormones to kick in. He's a bit of a late bloomer. Right now he's incapable of being attracted to anyone, she explained. That explains his reaction to the kiss earlier, Sakura realized. So then, what do I do? She asked Naruto, feeling a little lost. You'll have to impress him in a way that doesn't rely on your appeal. Naruto replied. Sakura thought about that. She hadn't ever really tried that before, but the truth was, apart from her test marks she wasn't very impressive. And Sasuke-kun didn't care about her test marks anyway. If he did, he would have showed interest in them sometime. There's nothing very impressive about me, though, she admitted. Naruto shook her head at her sadly. Sakura, you have to have the right attitude for a start. Besides, that's not even true. You get the highest test marks every time. You have a dietic memory. I think it's called, you learn Jutsu and other techniques right off the bat and you have pink hair. Do you really think so? Sakura asked shyly. Oh, and by the way, it's eidetic not dietic. Duh. And you hold back when I spar with you, Naruto nodded. You start off at full strength and then you go easy on me. Every time. I'm not that weak, she pouted, looking a bit hurt. Well, I'm not trying to go easy on you. Sakura replied. I'm just on a diet and it's been making me feel a little lethargic lately, she reluctantly admitted. Lethargic? Diet? Do you mean that your dietic memory makes things? Okay, no, you lost me, Naruto whimpered, clutching at her head. What I'm saying is I get tired easily when I spar or run fast or do things like that. Sakura explained. Why? Because my diet is affecting my stamina probably. Sakura explained. Maybe dieting wasn't such a good idea after all, she thought to herself. Diet? Dietic? Naruto cocked her head to the side, still confused. You're stuck on that, aren't you? Sakura sighed. Not dietic, eidetic, spelled E-I-D-E-T-I-C. It means that you remember everything you read perfectly. And you know what dieting is, changing what you eat to lose weight. Ah, right, Naruto nodded sagely. Having a dietic memory sure is awesome. Sakura decided to give up on trying to fix Naruto's vocabulary. It was beyond help anyway. But don't diet, it's stupid. You're too skinny anyway, you have bony legs. Just eat what you want, Naruto said. But what if I get fat? Sakura couldn't help but ask. If you get fat you aren't training enough, Naruto grinned. She boldly lifted up the hem of her tracksuit top. Her tanned stomach was completely flat. Eat properly, train properly and then fight me without wimping out. She advised. You want to fight me? Sakura asked, surprised. Yes, duh. If you're that much stronger when you're not doing some stupid diet you should fight me. I bet even that bastard, Sasuke, would want to fight you. Naruto giggled at her little mental image of a strong Sakura punching Sasuke into a tree. But I don't want to hurt Sasuke-kun. Sakura replied. Oh, come on. A friendly little spar never hurt anyone. Naruto reassured her. And Sasuke can take care of himself. Seeing the look on Sakura's face she hastily added. Well, if you really don't want him to get hurt that badly you should become strong and protect him. And spar with him properly too, it'll help him protect himself. I bet he'll be so impressed he'll say, ooh, Sakura-chan. Kiss me. Naruto made a silly kissy face that Sakura couldn't help but giggle at. You know, your advice sucks less than I thought it would, Sakura told Naruto. Naruto made a thoughtful pose and screwed her face up thinking deeply. Should I be flattered by that? She pondered aloud. Sakura couldn't help giggling again at how silly Naruto's face looked like that. I think I'll try it. I'm in love with Sasuke-kun so it makes sense to protect him. I'd hate it if he was hurt. I think it would hurt me more than if I was the one being hurt. Sakura declared. Naruto smiled brightly at her. That's wonderful, Sakura. I'm sure that even the stick up that bastard's ass could be removed by someone as pretty and smart as you, she praised. Ooh, Sakura, I'm falling in love with your forehead and the largish brain it contains. She exclaimed, swooning dramatically. Sakura burst into laughter. I hope he likes me for more than my forehead and brain at least, she laughed. And your pink hair. How could I forget Todd, Sakura? Naruto melodramatically unswooned and serenaded her, kneeling on one knee. That's so smooth. I only hope Sasuke could say something so and romantic to me in real life. Sakura gasped out, between huge bursts of laughter. Naruto winked at her and waggled her eyebrows suggestively. For you baby, I would even say the word dietic. I'd even say it twice. She declared very romantically in a very poor imitation of Sasuke's voice. Sakura's laughter intensified so much she actually fell off the bench. My sides, she gasped. Naruto immediately moved to help her. I hope I won't have to buy her Belgian chocolates too, she thought worriedly. Sue, why do you like Sasuke, again? Naruto asked Sakura bluntly. Well, he's good looking and rich and he has status, Sakura answered. Naruto rolled her eyes. Sakura, I know we haven't really talked before today, but you don't talk about Sasuke like someone you just like for his looks and stuff. Why bother lying to me? Sakura flushed and looked away. Because it's really embarrassing? She asked rhetorically. Seriously, Sakura, he has a major stick up his ass. Not prime dating material if you ask me, Naruto shrugged. Sasuke-kun does not have a stick up his ass. Sakura yelled. Then she blushed and glanced around to see if anyone might have possibly heard her. Sasuke-kun might push everyone away, but he's just misunderstood. Naruto looked at her in horror. Don't look at me like that. Sakura snapped. I know it sounds cliché, but it's true. Sasuke-kun spends all his time alone, training. He needs to open up, to talk to someone. Maybe it's not my business but I worry about him. I know that I'm kind of nosy. I don't mean to pry but sometimes I annoy him. I just want to be there for him because you can't help who you like and I know that he's not a bad person. If I could just make him laugh or smile, like he used to. Her words died off into a whisper and she ducked her face, flaming red. Naruto stared at her, eyes wide. Well, I'm not a moron, Sakura sighed. I know he's not in love with me but I care about him so much, and I don't even know why. You see why I'm embarrassed, right? Sakura suddenly flipped her tomato red face back up and squarely met Naruto's gaze. Naruto solidly looked back at her though her face was also starting to redden. Well, as much as I'd like to deny it I guess we do have some things in common. And yeah, I guess you can't really help who you fall in love with. Looking somewhat weary, Naruto disconsolately blew her bangs out of her face. Naruto. Before Sakura could say anything Naruto rudely interrupted her. Can I call you Sakura-chan? She asked, face somewhat red. There were no traces of tiredness or frustration in her face so Sakura chalked it up to a momentary lapse of vision. Sakura smiled at her and was almost more surprised than Naruto when she heard herself say, yes, of course. Naruto shyly grabbed her hand and shook it, looking somewhat unsure. She didn't expect me to say yes, did she? Sakura realized. Come to think of it, Naruto only really hung around Hinata. She probably wasn't used to making friends or hanging out with other people. Naruto clone looked at Sasuke. I told you she wasn't that bad, she pointed out. Yeah, alright, Sasuke acquiesced. You weren't completely off about her. Or the working as a team thing, he admitted. Are you going to give her a chance? Naruto clone asked. She was somewhat more invested in the answer to the question than she thought she would be. Yes, but if she goes back to her fangirl tendencies, no promises, Sasuke replied. Okay, and, this should be obvious, but don't tell her. That we eavesdropped, the clone requested, looking slightly sheepish. Sasuke scoffed. You're not the boss of me. Naruto flew to her feet in alarm as Sasuke approached the both of them. I was eavesdropping, Sasuke admitted. Naruto gaped at him. Was he going to give her away just like that? How much did you hear? Sakura asked, throat suddenly dry and voice croaking audibly. Sasuke gave her a funny look. The part about you being in love with me, of course. Sakura nodded and hung her head waiting to be told about how foolish her interest in him was or that she didn't understand him or something similar. Sasuke said no such thing. Instead he merely turned to Naruto and said, I'd like that salad now. Naruto cautiously nodded, turning back to Sakura and sending her an apologetic smile. Sakura looked down but she wasn't surprised. She hadn't exactly expected Sasuke-kun or Naruto to accept her as their teammate with open arms. 10 paces away, Sasuke turned back looking irritated. Sakura, aren't you coming? He asked, the irritation in his voice making it clear that only one answer was acceptable. Sakura's heart started beating double time. Sasuke-kun, wa? She could barely get the words out past her dry throat. Sasuke rolled his eyes and walked back and grabbed her wrist. We're going to go eat lunch now. Naruto's paying, he told her, tugging her along. Naruto scowled at him but gave Sakura a cheery grin and thumbs up that clearly said, sure, why not? Sasuke-kun, you're not going to tell me to stop being in love with you? She timidly asked him. Sasuke's dark black eyes found her and for Sakura time seemed to stop. What's the point in doing that? You have better taste than Naruto does, you should be proud. Now start walking, I'm not going to drag you the whole way, he told her nonchalantly. Sakura stared at him dumbfounded. Though she finally started walking, her pace was too slow for her dark-haired teammate who continued to impatiently drag her along. Sakura was practically brain dead from the shock that Sasuke-kun was maintaining physical contact with her, willingly. Inner Sakura was elated. After enjoying a very satisfying lunch, the 3 new teammates returned to the classroom to enjoy a very long wait for their Junin-sensei. No, actually, it wasn't very enjoyable at all. Finally 2 hours later their douchebag of a Junin-sensei showed up. Did they get an apology? No. All he said was, I don't think I like you 3 very much. Now their spiky-haired douchebag of a Junin-sensei smiled smugly at them from atop the roof of the academy. While they had to climb the stairs to get there, the man had simply just disappeared and reappeared in a cloud of smoke. I wonder if he can teach me that jutsu. Naruto thought to herself, excitedly. Alright, so let's do our introductions. Just say your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams. I guess. What about you, sensei? Sakura asked. My name is Kakashi Hitaki, I have lots of hobbies, I don't really want to tell you guys my likes and dislikes and future dream? Kakashi replied, not really telling them much at all. Now your turn, starting with the strange orange girl over there. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, cup ramen, Ichiraku's ramen, cooking ramen. Does she think of nothing but ramen? The other people on the rooftop all thought. Sweat drops sliding down their faces. Hinata-chan, Neji and Iruka-sensei. I don't like waiting for ramen to cook or, she paused sneakily, waiting over 2 hours for a Junin-sensei to arrive. Kakashi pretended not to notice the not-so-subtle dig. My hobbies are training and gardening and hanging out with Neji and Hinata-chan. And my dream is to become the Hokage and make everyone in the village finally look up to me and respect me. Naruto declared, raising a hand and clenching it into a fist. Kakashi's one visible eye widened at her bold declaration. Well, she sure grew up interesting, he thought to himself. But he didn't say anything, just motioned at Sasuke to take his turn. Sasuke Uchiha. I dislike a lot of things but I don't really like much of anything. Except tomatoes I guess. And hair care. At this, Sakura and Naruto exchanged looks, but neither of them really knew much about the haircare thing. There are still things I have to learn about Sasuke-kun, Sakura thought determinedly. Kakashi, on the other hand, understood perfectly and respected him for it. A true Uchiha, he thought to himself. My hobby, if you can call it that, is training. And haircare, I guess. And I don't want to use the word dream, but my ambition is the revival of my clan and to kill a certain man. He finished with a grim look on his face. I didn't even know that Sasuke-kun thought about things like that. Sakura realized, feeling somewhat ashamed. There's still so much I have to learn. Determinedly, she decided that if there was any way she could help him with his goals, she would at least give it a shot. Kakashi's eye narrowed in contemplation. Pretty much what he'd expected, after all. He motioned to Sakura to continue. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like reading, studying, doing well on books and… Sasuke-kun. Well, it wasn't like they didn't already know, after all. I don't really dislike anything, maybe orange tracksuits, she said, making a not too subtle dig at Naruto's favorite attire. Naruto just rolled her eyes, not bothering to defend her usual outfit. As for hobbies, I don't really have anyway. My dream is to become strong and protect a certain man, she finished. Wow, really? I had no idea you had such an awesome dream, Sakura-chan. Naruto exclaimed. She did not at all connect Sakura's decision to protect Sasuke with her current dream to protect a certain man. While Sakura was busy blushing and stuttering, Kakashi and Sasuke both had the same thought. Though it's totally obvious who you're talking about. Still, their private estimations of the skinny pink-haired girl rose. Then, since we've all finished introducing ourselves, tomorrow we'll start our duties officially, Kakashi announced, breaking the silence. Yeah, though you never really introduced yourself, the three preteens thought exasperatedly. What kind of awesome duties will we be doing? Naruto asked. I want to rescue a princess. As long as we get real combat experience, I'm not too fussed, Sakura chirped in. Sasuke, in typical Sasuke fashion, chose to nod rather than agree out loud. Kakashi had to struggle not to laugh out loud at that. Even if they do manage to pass my test, they'll have months and months of D ranks before they get to have any real combat experience, he thought gleefully. Ahem, first the four of us had to do some survival training. Sensei, maybe you forgot, but that was why we were at the academy. We've had 6 years of training. Naruto rolled her eyes. Kakashi snickered. This isn't regular training. Actually, it's kind of funny. What's so funny, sensei? Sakura asked. Well, only 9 people from your year are going to graduate. The rest go back to the academy. This will be a super difficult exam with a failure rate of 66%, and I will be your opponent. Kakashi gloated, basking in the startled looks on their faces. Electrified goldfish, they looked like, with lips wide open and eyes blankly staring ahead in shock. Naruto's blonde spiky hair was even standing on end. But we already did a test. Why did we even graduate then? Naruto asked angrily. She was the one most upset by this, considering all the effort she'd put into learning that stupid clone jutsu. That was just a test to select those that get a chance to become genin. You can think of it as a preliminary test. Kakashi smiled at them. He was enjoying this. Maybe too much? What a shame he'd left his camera at home. Tomorrow I will be testing you, so don't forget to bring all of your shinobi tools. And don't eat breakfast, you'll just throw up. When Kakashi used that strange jutsu to disappear from the rooftop again, all 3 graduates were still sitting there with the same shell-shocked expressions on their faces. What should I do? Naruto muttered to herself. Sakura heard her and frowned. What could she do? If she didn't pass this test, there would be no way to protect Sasuke-kun, who would definitely pass for sure. But she knew there was no way she could defeat a Junin on her own. Wait, on her own? Sakura looked at her teammates. If they were a team, then there was no reason she had to fight him alone. Sakura sighed. Her plans would have to wait till tomorrow. Okay, guys, I've got a few ideas. About the test tomorrow. Naruto woke up bright and early the next day. She was feeling particularly awesome, since this morning she would have an advantage in their test. Last night, to her and Sasuke's surprise, Sakura had stopped them from leaving because she said she had an idea. That idea led to them walking up to every single villager in town and asking about Kakashi. Naruto didn't exactly understand what the whole point of this was, so she had started complaining loudly to Sasuke. After blatantly ignoring her for as long as possible, He finally rolled his eyes and said, "You don't even know that? Seriously, just how did you manage to graduate? We're gathering information, moron." Eventually, after asking around, they struck gold. A failed genin graduate that had taken Kakashi's test before. Apparently Kakashi was a lazy bastard who probably used the same test pretty much every year. In the end, all he left them with was the cryptic advice, no matter what, eat a full breakfast. Naruto had thought he was pretty shady, but Sakura decided to take his words at face value, so who was she to argue? She was just happy that she could eat her usual 7 bowls of ramen and a nice tall glass of milk. To her, all that wandering around justified itself because she got to eat a big breakfast as usual in the end. "Good morning, Sakura-chan, Sasuke," she chirped, arriving at the specified place of appointment. Sasuke barely deigned to nod, but Sakura greeted her with a happy smile. Maybe too happy. Naruto did not like the look on her face at all. "Can I call you a chan?" Sakura asked her. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. "So that was all? Sure, Sakura-chan, call me whatever you want." She smiled at her. "Thanks, Naru-chan." Sakura grinned. Naruto's mouth dropped. Out of all the nicknames she'd gotten, no one had ever quite called her that before. Should I be flattered or disgusted, she wondered. On one hand, they were teammates. She had told Sakura-chan she could call her whatever she wanted. Clearly Sakura-chan actually thought it was a cute name, and it was still better than Demon Child. But on the other, Naru-chan? Naruto groaned. "It's cute, isn't it?" Sakura beamed. "You could call me Naruto-chan instead?" Naruto suggested hopefully. Sakura's nose wrinkled. "That's not a very feminine name." "Naruto means fishcake," she pointed out. "I read it as whirlpool, actually." "Which is an awesome name," Naruto objected. "That's still not very feminine." Sakura pointed out. "But you added chan to it. That's very feminine." Naruto protested. Sakura just shook her head slowly at this. "You'll understand when you're older," was all she would say. "Actually," Sasuke started to say. Naruto looked at him hopefully. "Like I said, Sakura has better taste than you. You should listen to her," Sasuke said. Then he turned around out of Sakura's line of sight and smirked at her. Naruto looked away from him in disgust. "Okay, it is kind of cute," she gave in, lying through her teeth. Sakura-chan just looked so happy that she had agreed. Naruto didn't have the heart to fight her on the issue. "It could be worse," she consoled herself. "Sasuke could be the one calling me Naru-chan instead. Now that would be gross." She made a face. Hours later Kakashi finally arrived. As one, Naruto and Sakura stood up and yelled at him while Sasuke settled for folding his arms and glaring venomously at their new sensei. Kakashi merely smiled at them and set an alarm clock on a stump in the clearing. "Okay, the timer on this is set to go off at noon. I have here 2 bells." Kakashi raised the bells to show them and shook them slightly. "Before that timer goes off you have to take a bell from me. If you don't you won't get any lunch, but you will be forced to watch me eat in front of you instead." So that's why he told us not to eat any breakfast, the 3 graduates realized. "If you don't manage to get a bell off me you will be tied to a stump while I and your teammates enjoy our lunch, and then you will be sent back to the academy for failing. So that means that out of the 3 of you, a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 3 students will definitely fail." Kakashi gleefully explained. "You can use all of the ninja tools available to a graduate. That means no high-grade explosive tags or poisoned senbon obviously. Taijutsu, ninjutsu and any genjutsu you might know, you can use them all. You won't be able to succeed if you don't come at me with the intent to kill, so please, don't make this too boring." He smiled at all of them. Sakura frowned at him. He was obviously trying to provoke them, but why? The test hadn't even started yet. Naruto, on the other hand, took the bait, hook, line and sinker. "We're the ones who are bored. 3 hours late, sensei. You should watch your ass or you might be dead before you know it," she declared, glaring fiercely at him. Sakura stared at her incredulously. What is she doing? Why is she provoking a Junin sensei? She turned her head to exchange a look of disbelief with Sasuke and was even more surprised when he reciprocated. In real life those with no talent always bark the loudest. Well, ignore the 3 times failed student and start when I say. Naruto, whose expression had been getting fiercer and fiercer while listening to their instructor, suddenly lunged at him with 3 kunai in her hands, and it was all Sakura and Sasuke could do to hold her back. When did those kunai get there? Sakura thought, eyebrows shooting upwards in surprise. Fast, thought Sasuke. Kakashi looked at the three kids in surprise. Nice teamwork, you two. Quick thinking. He nodded to Sasuke and Sakura, who looked proud and blushed respectively. And Naruto, he started. Naruto glared at him, daring him to say something insulting. You're pretty fast to the draw, aren't you? Kakashi's eyes smiled at her. Naruto's mouth widened into a comical "oh" before it quickly spread into a pleased grin. If you remember to take me seriously like that, you might have a small chance of passing my test. In fact, it seems like you guys might not be all that bad. Kakashi ignored the pleased flushes on their faces, all of their faces, and gave the command. Now, start. So the first thing they should be doing is hiding themselves well in the surrounding area. Kakashi thought to himself and scanned the area around him. Just as he thought, Sasuke and Sakura were well hidden in the surrounding trees and bushes, though of course he could detect them, and Naruto was. Hey, you're strong, aren't you? Come and fight me. Standing right in front of him. Just out of curiosity, did you ever pay any attention to your classes in the academy? Kakashi asked her idly, though it was already obvious what the answer was. The answer was, no. Just out of curiosity, do you ever pay any attention to your hair? Naruto retorted. Kakashi's hands flew defensively to his hair. There was nothing wrong with his hair. His hair was fine. He decided it was time to teach this little girl a lesson. Naruto leapt back from him, eyes to the ground. Caltrops, she cursed. Taking advantage of her momentary distraction, Kakashi moved towards her at a speed she couldn't hope to match and punched her in the stomach. Her body slammed into a tree with a solid-sounding thunk. Ninjas never take their eyes off an enemy, Kakashi lectured indifferently. Naruto hesitantly got back to her feet, breathing heavily. Maybe you were just too ugly for me to directly look at, she shouted back, somewhat nonsensically. Kakashi's one visible eye widened marginally. To get up from a blow like that in less than 1 minute. That was some stamina, alright. Alright then, he whipped out his favorite novel, one with a bright orange cover. Lesson number 1, Taijutsu. Let's see if you can beat me. What's the book for? Is that a ninja book with ninja weapons in it or something? Naruto asked, scratching her head. How had she managed to come to that conclusion? In a way, I think she's overestimating me, Kakashi thought to himself. No, Naruto, this is a book from my favorite series, Icha Icha. I just wanted to read a bit more. You can attack me while I'm reading, don't worry about it, I won't get hurt. Kakashi explained to her without taking his eyes off the book. Icha Icha Paradise? I know about those. That's the perverted book series. Sensei, you might not know this, but in certain circles I'm known as Naruto the Pervert Buster. No, you aren't, thought Sasuke and Sakura. I'm gonna bust you and that book of yours up so badly you won't be able to read another page. Naruto launched herself at him, fist outstretched to punch the book right out of his hands. Kakashi merely moved the hand not supporting his book and blocked her with an open palm. I'm not done yet, thought Naruto, and using the momentum from the punch, kicked out in a high arc, now aiming for Kakashi's mask. Kakashi dropped down into a low crouch, avoiding the kick, but he was underestimating Naruto's speed. Naruto grinned at him. Now she had him. She pushed herself backwards from her current position, landing on Kakashi's back and pressing him down into the ground. Her next move was to hook her leg around his neck and crush his larynx between her leg and her hands joined together until he surrendered. Ha, take that. I spent all night training with a motionless Kakashi doll for this. Naruto crowed, moving into the next stage of her attack. Then from directly behind her came the words, "Didn't I tell you that ninjas don't take their eyes off an enemy?" Huh? At those words a cloud of smoke emerged, covering Naruto and her enemy, and then quickly dissipated. And what it revealed was, I've been trying to get a log to surrender all this time? Kawarimi Jutsu. That's an academy technique, Sakura realized. When did he pull the switch? I didn't notice at all, thought Sasuke. Oh crap, thought Naruto. Kakashi swiftly moved his hands into the tiger seal position, not giving Naruto any time to escape. No way, is he actually going to use a fire technique? Sasuke thought. Sakura though had an even more foreboding feeling. Chalk it down to womanly intuition. Naruto, watch out, she yelled, throwing a kunai at Naruto, which snagged the shoulder of her jumpsuit and dragged her backwards along its line of movement until it met a tree and sunk into it. Kakashi blinked. That was some quick thinking and a nice display of teamwork. Naruto was now looking around in confusion, pinned to a tree 50 meters from him before he had even started his technique. Still, you didn't get to be a Junin by being sentimental, and Sakura had just given her position away. Big mistake. Within a second, Kakashi appeared behind Sakura, fingers again clasped together in the tiger seal. Ancient secret taijutsu technique of Konoha. 1,000 years of pain. Sakura went flying, shrieking all the way, and plummeted into the large lake towards the far side of the clearing. He just poked her in the ass. Naruto and Sasuke stared in horror at their new maybe sensei. That fucking asshole. I was saving that for Sasuke. Inner Sakura roared. Within a second she emerged from the lake, throwing another kunai at Sasuke, pinning him to the tree by his ridiculously large collar, and then yelling a battle cry all the while as she leapt out of the water and ran across the clearing, grabbing Naruto and Sasuke and retreating to the trees. What just happened? Thought Kakashi bemusedly. Oddly enough, he could swear he felt a massive amount of killing intent directed at him, and a feeling of foreboding was starting to give him goosebumps. With a silent scoff, he pushed that feeling of foreboding back into his head, where it would then be used for fights against actual dangerous ninja. They were just kids, after all. What could they possibly do to a former Anbu captain? Kakashi was starting to get bored. All of them, even Naruto, were hiding extremely well. He had no idea where they were. It was starting to put even him on edge. I'm sure they'll show themselves any time now, he comforted himself. Meanwhile, in the trees. So you're all clear on what we're going to do? Sakura asked. Sasuke cocked his head questioningly, being too lazy to actually vocalize his question. Sasuke-kun, just imagine if that had happened to you instead of me. Wouldn't you want to be avenged? Sakura asked patiently. Sasuke blanched. Kisses were one thing, but butt pokes? And not even from a fangirl, but from an older man who was supposed to be their sensei. That was just creepy. I would want you to take revenge if that happened to me as well, Sakura-chan. I'm behind you 100%. Naruto determinedly bumped fists with Sakura. And you did kind of sacrifice yourself for me even if you didn't mean to. Naruto trailed off. So Sasuke-kun, are you in or out? Sakura asked. Let me blow stuff up and you have a deal, Sasuke replied, still looking vaguely unnerved by the whole butt poke thing. Great, then you can help me set up the ninja wire and explosive tags around this area. Sakura beamed. Kakashi-sensei, fight me. Kakashi sighed as the orange figure of his least intelligent student came into view. Had she learned nothing? Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto yelled, and in an instant, 10 more Narutos had appeared from thin air. Oh, you know a solid clone technique? Kakashi was pleasantly surprised. Of course you realize this makes no difference, right? No matter how many of you there are, with your skills you have no hope of defeating me. Naruto grimaced. Stupid Kakashi-sensei. I can beat you with my hands tied behind my back. In a snap 10 more Narutos were added to the crowd. And then they all rushed as one at Kakashi, and a maelstrom of chops, punches and kicks was released. Predictable, thought Kakashi, and in a matter of moments he had dispelled all but one Naruto. That one must be the real one. Kakashi's eyes narrowed as he prepared to finish the battle. Naruto squawked in alarm. Where had all the other Narutos gone? And so quickly? She jumped to her feet and quickly ran in the opposite direction, abandoning the plan. I can always make more clones. It's not over yet, she declared. Kakashi sighed and turned around. I've already figured out your plan. You were using your clones to lead me to the water and it failed. Ninjas are always looking underneath the underneath. Naruto's jaw dropped in surprise. How had he figured out Sakura-chan's plan so quickly? It was probably Sakura who came up with the plan, right? Out of the three of you, she's supposed to be the one with the biggest intellect. While he spoke, Kakashi was keeping a careful eye on the area, anticipating a counter move from Sasuke or Sakura anytime soon. What I don't understand though is why getting me to the trees would be better, since you all are much smaller than me and could work more effectively in the more cramped area, while my movement would be hindered. Naruto started laughing. You're so stupid, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura-chan knew you'd realize what we were doing immediately if we tried that. As soon as my clones led you into the water, Sasuke was going to spit fire at the water and fry you in superheated steam. Then while you tried to escape, Sakura was going to get the bells. She crowed. A sweat drop slowly made its way down Kakashi's face, disappearing into the fabric of his mask. She does realize she just told me the whole plan, right? Well, it wasn't a bad plan and it might have even worked if Naruto had been anywhere near as stealthy as she should have been. While Kakashi was in the middle of thinking, and as his guard appeared to be down, a Fuma shuriken appeared out of nowhere, careening towards him. Kakashi leisurely reached out and stopped the shuriken's movement, catching it around the circular hole in the middle. What the? That wasn't part of the plan. Sasuke, you bastard. Naruto yelled. Kakashi's eyebrows drew together. So it was Sasuke who had thrown the shuriken. That meant Sakura still had to be accounted for. They're getting desperate. After all, you messed up their carefully thought out plan, he told Naruto. At that moment, from a different direction, a string of ninja wire came flying towards him, kunai slipping up and down its length. If successful, that trick could potentially decapitate an enemy. Kakashi merely sliced through the string with the Fuma shuriken still in his hand and watched the kunai clatter harmlessly to the ground. I'm guessing that was Sakura's move. He commented, we can still use that plan. Naruto shouted, I just have to make more shadow clones. That might have worked. If you hadn't already told me all the details of your plan. At Kakashi's words, Naruto's face fell. She hadn't done that, had she? Feeling a little depressed, Naruto's gaze dropped to the ground in front of her. Sorry Sakura. Sorry Sasuke. It seems like I let you down. Didn't I tell you not to take your eyes off an enemy? Naruto looked up and her gaze met the one visible eye of her sensei. She closed her eyes in anticipation of the blow she was going to receive. But the blow never came, because Naruto dissipated in a cloud of smoke. Now, Sakura yelled as she made the hand seals to detonate the tags scattered around the area. Sasuke, HNED, in affirmation, and as the tags detonated around Kakashi, he leapt out of hiding and fired a great fireball jutsu into the middle of the area, further enhancing the explosive power of the tags. Kakashi was seriously taken aback at this, but he did not lose his head and merely channeled some chakra to his feet, jumping supernaturally high and avoiding the jutsu. When he landed again, the fire had gone and there was only smoke left. Lots of smoke. Can't breathe, Kakashi realized. There was too much smoke. He dropped low to the floor to ease his breathing while he crawled out of the smoke cloud. And then he heard the sound of an incoming object and two logs hurtled towards him, obviously meant to make a log and Kakashi sandwich. Fuck, Kakashi leapt backwards. Sakura had probably planned that second backup trap. Then he caught sight of a flash of red on the logs and groaned. Gathering chakra to his feet, he again jumped as the logs crashed into each other and exploded into a mass of fire. That Sakura is one vindictive little witch, Kakashi thought, eyeing the flames he had just barely avoided. What kind of demon would think of sticking explosive tags on the logs? And then Sasuke, his position obscured by smoke, fired another great fireball directly at Kakashi. Are you kidding me? Kakashi was seriously beginning to reconsider his opinion of the three brats. As he gathered chakra to his mouth to fire off his own great fireball to negate the Uchiha boy's technique, he saw something that almost made him whimper. Almost. There was another Naruto clone, fist outstretched, grinning widely and flying forward from inside the fireball jutsu, aiming for his face. Suppressing curse words entirely unsuitable for young children to hear, Kakashi bent backwards at the waist and avoided both the clone and the fireball technique. And then another Naruto was thrown upwards by another clone and punched him in the stomach, and he couldn't possibly avoid it from his current position, and crap, that had actually hurt. That was a very creative strategy, Kakashi told them, glaring at them fiercely and making them tremble under the force of his killing intent. Naruto, the real Naruto, the one who had finally managed to hit him, grinned at him, though she still looked terrified. Yeah, there was fire and there was smoke and there was bangs. So many bangs. She laughed. Sasuke crossed his arms, smirked and let out a small pleased "HN." He looked terrified too. Sakura placed her hand on her hips and crowed excitedly, and it was my plan, sensei. I planned it all start to finish. She also looked terrified and her shoulders were shaking. Kakashi shook his head in resignation. I shouldn't have underestimated you guys. Even if one of you is wearing orange. You three are probably the most evil brats I have ever met. The three of them did not seem the least bit chastened by this and instead looked excessively pleased with themselves. But you do realize that was one hit. You didn't defeat me, and you didn't get the bells. I know not to underestimate you guys now, and there's 3 minutes left till noon. What do you plan on doing now? He asked pleasantly. To his surprise, none of them looked particularly upset or even surprised by his words. Instead, Sasuke smirked, Naruto grinned, and Sakura giggled at him. No, sensei. What are you going to do? She asked. Huh? Yeah, Naruto sniggered. What are you going to do about your precious paradise? Kakashi slowly looked to his right hand, in which he had been holding the holy grail of literature. It was on fire. Sasuke smirked at him. He was too dignified to laugh. It's impossible for an Uchiha to use their signature clan jutsu and miss. Sakura kept giggling as Kakashi froze in shock, staring at his beloved Icha turning to ashes right in front of his eyes. That trap wasn't meant for you from the beginning. Now maybe you'll think twice before you go around poking girls in the butt. Kakashi sat there, eyes fixated on his pride, his joy, his love, powerless to stop Naruto as she unfastened the bells from his pouch and tossed both of them over to Sasuke and Sakura respectively. As the last of the ashes of his beloved Icha were blown off his palm by the wind, he stood up brokenly and staggered towards them. The three of you. They all looked up excitedly at him, waiting to hear the good news. Fail. They all looked down at the ground, wondering where they had gone wrong. Is what I'd like to say. But technically you did pass, after all. This test was actually about teamwork. The bells were there as an incentive to divide you, but you guys probably figured that out. Kakashi explained. The three of them looked at each other. They hadn't figured that out at all. They'd completely forgotten about that. A ninja must always be looking underneath the underneath, and you three did that perfectly. In fact, I think I've learned a lesson about looking underneath the underneath too, and I will never ever underestimate anyone who wears orange or has pink hair ever again. You all worked as a team, even though you did so because of different reasons that I would have liked, and you even managed to get the bells. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were starting to look excited again, and they waited with anticipation for his next words. So, you pass. But, and here his voice got stern. First, I expect a replacement copy of the book you destroyed and a personal letter of apology from each of you to the author for destroying one of his precious books. And a 2,500-word essay on the beauty of Icha and why you should never ever destroy one of those precious books ever again. He ordered. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke stared at him in disbelief. Do I make myself clear? He asked, letting a bit of killing intent escape with his words. They all gulped. Yes, Kakashi-sensei. They chorused. Sakura, you stay. Kakashi had ordered. As the other students left, Sakura remained sitting on a tree stump, holding Kakashi's empty bento box. Since she just dropped her diet the day before, she hadn't been able to finish it and let Naruto eat the rest of the food. It had been surprisingly tasty, though. Kakashi-sensei. What's this about? She asked, as soon as Sasuke and Naruto were out of earshot. Your dress. Oh, do you like it? Sakura flushed happily. My mom made it for me. Red is a Haruno clan tradition. Pretty, right? Kakashi stared at her for a while, trying to figure out a nice way to say what he was going to say, and Sakura fidgeted self-consciously under his gaze. Finally, he figured out what he was going to say. I approve the inclusion of the clan symbol. And it's reasonably well made. But, Sakura, your hair is pink. Red clashes. Sakura looked utterly desolate, so he awkwardly patted her on the head. This was going to be hard for her to hear, but it needed to be said. For both her sake and her teammates, who had to see her every day. Relentlessly he continued on. And your dress tapers down at the hips and you're wearing loose white pants underneath. It makes your hips look fat. Sakura stared at him in horror. What about my thighs? They look okay, don't they? She pleaded. Kakashi sighed. He couldn't believe he was the one that had to give her this lecture. Your clan symbol is at the bottom of your dress, which also draws the eye to your legs. Ideally, you should have your clan symbol on a shoulder or a sleeve. So my thighs look. Kakashi sighed again. Why didn't they teach you how to handle delicate preteens in the Junin sensei training? They look. Yeah, I can't figure out a nice way to say this. They look fat, he told her reluctantly, watching her face lose all hope. And your clan symbol is too big. It's basically a big target saying, stab me. Stab me in the thighs, I like being stabbed. And then the dress length, It can get caught up on things while you're fighting and you could end up losing a head. That outfit of yours is practically suicidal. Well, what about Naru-Chan's and Sasuke-kun's clothes? You can't say they're practical. She replied defensively. Sasuke is an Uchiha. He would absolutely murder anyone who dared to damage his clothes. Kakashi grinned at the thought. As for Naruto, it's sad, but she's already beyond help. You should be happy you can still be saved, at least, he advised. All hope left Sakura's small frame again and she slumped down gloomily. Well, I was thinking of buying some new training clothes anyway. But if I can't wear red, I don't know what to buy. Kakashi sighed gloomily again. He couldn't believe he was saying this, but I'll take you shopping. Sakura took one final look at her new clothes before walking into the clearing. A slim-fitting, short-sleeved athletic jacket in a contrast of soft yellow and light gray. Tucked-in white t-shirt with 3/4 length sleeves and practical black shorts hitting a bit above mid-thigh. They looked flattering on her and there was no doubt that Kakashi-sensei had good taste. Surprisingly so, considering what he read. But she still felt self-conscious. What would Sasuke-kun think? Warily, she walked into the clearing of Training Ground 7. Sasuke and Naruto looked up when she arrived and then froze, eyes and mouths hanging open, or in Sasuke's case expression exactly the same as normal. She could tell he was surprised though. Sakura awkwardly started fiddling with the hem of her new jacket. Does it look okay? She asked cautiously. Naruto and Sasuke didn't reply, apparently too busy goggling at her startling change of attire. Oh come on, it can't be that shocking. Still they said nothing, eyes fixed stupidly on her. My clothes aren't that bad, surely. Sakura exclaimed, defensively crossing her arms and shooting them a look. Who cares about that? Naruto said, looking confused. What happened to your hair? You mean the plaits? Sakura frowned. It looks shorter. Sasuke commented. That's because I plaited it. It is shorter. Naruto realized. Why did you cut your hair? I didn't cut it. Hair looks shorter when you plait it, Sakura said, bewildered. Sasuke shook his head at Naruto's apparent confusion. Moron, why would you think I cut my hair anyway? Sakura asked, exasperatedly. To look cooler? Naruto asked. Because you decided to be practical, and avoid your hair being a possible handhold for enemy shinobi? Sasuke asked. Then, he and Naruto looked at each other and laughed. Sasuke-kun laughed for the first time since the massacre, oh my lord, though actually, it had been more of a snarky laugh than a joyful laugh. Inner Sakura was overjoyed. Regular Sakura was too busy worrying about her hairstyle to notice. I just felt like a change, but if it looks so bad, Sakura huffed. It doesn't look bad, it suits you more this way. Forehead protectors are meant to be worn on the forehead anyway, Naruto interrupted. Now you can headbutt people using the official shinobi technique. Like I said, you at least have better taste than Naruto. And it's more practical to wear the forehead protector on the forehead anyway, Sasuke said, shrugging nonchalantly. Sakura flushed, surprised at receiving an almost if you squinted from far away maybe compliment from Sasuke. Shyly, she started playing with her hem again. And the clothes? She asked hopefully. I appreciate the absence of red. And the absence of clashing. Again, better taste than Naruto, Sasuke commented. I appreciate the yellow, Naruto commented, stepping forward to examine her jacket more closely. But it would be nicer if it was bright yellow. Maybe I should wear some yellow too. She trailed off. Sakura's eyes widened in horror. Sasuke apparently agreed with her because he pulled Naruto back, away from her. You don't even know what bad taste you have, do you? That's borderline offensive. He glowered. When Kakashi finally showed up, the first thing he did was collect their letters of apology, their 2,500-word essays and his signed replacement copy of Icha Paradise. He was impressed the copy they gave him was signed. That was a nice touch, thought Kakashi. Alright, I smiled at them. As a reward for getting me a signed copy of the book. And Sakura finally wearing her forehead protector on her forehead. Sakura blushed. I'll forego the morning training today and we can go and pick up our first mission. Yay, you're awesome, Pido-sensei. Naruto cheered. Pido-sensei? Kakashi asked pleasantly. Yeah, Pido-sensei. Kakashi's eyebrow twitched. Why are you calling me that? People who molest children are called pedophiles, Naruto explained. I am not a pedophile. But you are a Pido-sensei, Pido-sensei. Naruto insisted. I am not a pedo-sensei, Kakashi insisted, releasing a small amount of killing intent. Right. Oh, of course you're not, pedo-sensei. Naruto gasped. Naruto, Kakashi I smiled at her, releasing even more killing intent. Don't call me that ever again. Why yes, I'll never call you that anymore, pedo-sensei. Naruto squeaked. Kakashi looked at her in exasperation. How was he going to get rid of that moniker? Kakashi-sensei, I don't think you can get her to stop calling you that, Sakura explained gently. But, my reputation, he protested. What reputation? Sasuke snorted. You read porn in public. Oh, right. All right, let's go collect our mission then, he told them. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke all followed him obediently as he headed towards the Hokage Tower. When he got there they headed towards the Hokage's office, to collect their first mission as genin. Normally missions would be collected from the Chunin administration in the lower levels of the tower, but the Hokage liked to hand out graduates' first official missions in person. Kakashi suspected he liked seeing the bamboozled look on their faces when they realized their first mission was just a bunch of menial chores. He enjoyed that look too. He had even brought along a small camera. Ah, Team 7, here for your first mission, I presume? The Hokage smiled warmly at them when they were admitted into his office. Yes, Hokage-sama, what mission do you have for us? Kakashi asked politely. The Hokage tossed a mission scroll to Kakashi. See for yourselves. I particularly picked out this mission especially for Team 7, he said, smiling conspiratorially at Kakashi. Who took the opportunity to pull out his camera? Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke all eagerly crowded around the scroll as Kakashi unrolled it. As expected, the expressions of excitement and pride slowly slid off their faces, leaving growing incredulity in its place. Click. Kakashi looked in delight at the screen of his camera. That was definitely going in his album. I request a copy, the Hokage said. Kakashi bowed deeply. As Hokage-sama wishes. They were still staring at the scroll. Gardening? Sakura finally asked. That was the most freaking useless mission ever. Sakura complained, smelling strongly of plant fertilizer. I didn't think it was so bad, Naruto commented. She had done a good job pruning the plants, and the store owner had given her a small Venus fly trap to thank her. Naruto loved it. Sakura couldn't understand why. It had teeth, and was currently transporting it in the crook of her arm and occasionally petting it. Sasuke contributed. He had a thoroughly exasperated look on his face and also smelled strongly of plant fertilizer. Kakashi eyes smiled at his cute team. But you all did such a great job. Well, except for Sasuke and Sakura, that is. Sakura and Sasuke shared a look. Next time they'd make him do the gardening, for sure. Really? I did a good job, pedo-sensei? Naruto asked excitedly. Yeah, you did. In fact, I think that old store owner took a real shine to you. He wrote a glowing report of your abilities. Kakashi smiled at her. Naruto beamed back at him, smile momentarily dazzling. I did a good job. She cheered. But that's not fair, Kakashi-sensei. Naru-chan said her hobby is gardening. Of course she'd work better than me or Sasuke. Sakura pointed out. Sakura, don't blame Naruto for having more feminine qualities than you. Kakashi admonished, leaning over to ruffle Naruto's hair. Sakura's eyes narrowed in response. Naru-chan was not more feminine than her. In terms of being feminine, she absolutely could not lose to a ramen guzzling, orange wearing, jutsu using, neji chasing kunoichi. So what are we gonna do now, pedo-sensei? Naruto asked. Now, Kakashi smiled, we're going to start our training. Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto all made their way back to Training Ground 7. When they got there, all three 12-year-olds looked at Kakashi expectantly, and in answer he held out a closed fist. You will all be training with these, he explained, directing their gazes towards his fist. Training with what, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura was the first to ask. Kakashi slowly unfurled his fingers to reveal 3 leaves in the palm of his hand, perfectly flat and undamaged. I'm sure you guys all remember the leaf training exercise from the academy, right? He asked. They all nodded in affirmation at him. Are we going to be doing an advanced form of that exercise, sensei? Sakura asked. No, Kakashi smiled. You will be doing the exact same exercise you learned in the academy. Before they could protest he continued, so, who knows how to do the leaf training exercise? Put your hands in the air if you can do it. Sakura and Sasuke both promptly raised their hands and Naruto looked away feeling a little ashamed of herself. Good, Kakashi smiled at them. Since only Naruto doesn't know the exercise, she'll have to learn how to do it before I can start teaching all of you properly. Sakura and Sasuke, help Naruto learn the exercise and come get me when you're done. Then he handed the leaves over to Naruto who held them very carefully, and ambled away to sit at the base of the stump and flicked open up his new replacement copy of Icha Paradise. Seriously? Sakura groaned. Sasuke rolled his eyes and then turned back to Naruto. So, you really don't know how to do the leaf training exercise? Naruto's face flushed red. Were they going to make fun of her? No I don't, she answered reluctantly. Okay, Sasuke answered. Then we should start training immediately. You're not going to make fun of me? Or ask why I never learned it in the academy? She couldn't help but ask. I wouldn't make fun of you for that, Naru-chan. Sakura reassured her. Naruto looked unconvinced. Well, I wouldn't make fun of you for that, anymore, Sakura blushed. Sasuke merely shook his head. Making fun of you would waste valuable training time, he explained. Naruto rolled her eyes at his pragmatism. Sasuke ordered Sakura. Alright, she agreed. I'll do the teaching. So, Naru-chan, do you know what the point of the leaf training exercise is? She asked. Naruto shook her head. Alright, so you do know the basics of chakra though, right? Naruto looked back at her uncomprehendingly. What's chakra? Sakura and Sasuke exchanged glances. How is it even possible to be this dense? Chakra is the energy you get from mixing together mental energy and physical energy. We use chakra to perform jutsus, Sakura explained. Oh, Naruto clapped her hands together. It's the glowy stuff. Why didn't you just say so? She asked. Sakura's eyebrow twitched. Right, the glowy stuff. So this exercise is meant to teach you how to manage your chakra and increase your chakra control. Chakra control is a natural ability every ninja has, some more than others, but if you train well you can increase it. Generally, the higher your chakra capacity is, the lower your control will be. So what's the point of chakra control? Can you use jutsu better if you have more of it? Naruto asked. Yes. Jutsu are achieved by mixing specific amounts of mental and physical energy together and then channeling that into different forms. For example, the fact that Sasuke-kun can perform a fireball jutsu means that his chakra control and capacity are naturally higher than other ninjas our age. Normally, a student just out of the academy would not have the control necessary to create fire and the jutsu would either fail or explode in their face, Sakura explained. Why would it fail if other people from our class tried it? And how do you know Sasuke has high chakra capacity? Naruto asked. Sakura sighed and ran her hands through her fringe. It was nice that Naru-chan was paying attention, and more than she'd expected from her, honestly, but she had so many questions. Jutsu are divided into ranks according to how high the chakra control and chakra capacity needed to perform them is. And how destructive they are. Academy students usually can't perform anything above E rank, but the Great Fireball is a C rank jutsu. Usually we learn D ranks while we're genin, and some particularly adept students or clan members might even pick up a C rank or two. The fact that Sasuke-kun can already perform it without specialized training indicates he has more control than normal. And I know he has high chakra capacity because normally using a C-rank jutsu that involves an element twice would at least visibly exhaust a newly graduated student, and Sasuke-kun didn't show any signs of fatigue after we fought Kakashi-sensei. So many words. Naruto stared at her in awe. I don't have to repeat that, do I? You understood, right? Sakura asked. Yeah, I got it. So, Sakura-chan, how much chakra control do I have? And how much capacity? Naruto asked excitedly. I'm totally awesome, right? Sakura frowned. That isn't really my area of expertise, Naru-chan. I'm not a chakra sensor. I guess your solid clone technique should take more chakra than the E ranks we learn at the academy since it's a physical duplicate. How many can you do? She asked. Naruto thought about it. I don't know. When I was practicing the technique I think I made around 300 or so. Oh, and the scroll I learned it from said it's a B rank, if that means anything. She admitted. Sakura's eyebrows shot upwards and she exchanged a shocked glance with Sasuke. Academy students using a B-rank technique so casually, and without getting tired, is not normal, Sasuke contributed. Sakura noticed that his eyebrows had drawn together and his eyes had narrowed slightly. What was that about? It almost looked like he was pissed off for some reason. I'm guessing that means you have a huge chakra capacity. Incredibly huge, Sakura told her, choosing to ignore Sasuke's change of expression. For now, anyway. Yes, Naruto cheered. I'm awesome. And as for chakra control, I'll tell you when I've seen you perform the leaf training exercise. This is literally the easiest thing to do involving chakra. Even little kids can do it, so no matter how bad you are you should at least partially succeed, Sakura explained. Sasuke took one of the leaves from Sakura's hand and placed it on top of Naruto's head. Keep this in place on your head by sticking it to you with chakra, he ordered, taking over his part of the training. Alright, I bet I get it in one shot. Naruto immediately channeled lots and lots of chakra to her head trying to get the leaf to stick. But instead of doing what it was supposed to, the leaf exploded off her head and landed at Sasuke's feet, smoking around the edges. I think that's the first time I've ever seen someone explode the leaf off their head, Sakura commented, staring at the leaf smoking on the grass. Hey, moron. Sasuke smirked at her. I'll get it next time. I'll definitely get it next time, believe it. Naruto shouted. 5 hours later, Kakashi decided that his back was going to cramp if he kept sitting against his stump and reading Icha Paradise, so he decided to wander off and see how his team was doing. When he got there he saw Naruto gingerly walking around with a backpack stuck to her head and Sakura yelling at her each time it started to wobble. What happened to the leaf? Kakashi asked. Sakura groaned and turned to face him. Naruto has really bad chakra control, really bad. It must be the worst chakra control in history, she exclaimed. I think she's broken a record of suck somewhere, Sasuke contributed. Every time she tried, the leaf just flew off her head like she was repelling it. We tried it again and again but I can't tell how much chakra she's using, so I couldn't give her any guidance besides try half of that. Try a quarter of that. Maybe you should just try a tenth of that, etc., she sighed. So we decided to start off with something heavier, more affected by gravity, and work our way up to a leaf. Kakashi nodded solemnly. He'd expected Naruto to have increased reserves and low control but this was pretty bad. Naruto, you can stop now, he ordered Naruto, who was still walking around with the backpack on her head, face screwed up in concentration. Naruto pulled the backpack off her head and slumped bonelessly to the ground. Why is this so hard? She gasped. Kakashi crooked an eyebrow. She was obviously using way too much chakra if practicing the simple leaf training exercise left her so exhausted. Naruto, do you feel like you've improved at all? He asked. Naruto opened her mouth to answer but before she could Sakura beat her to the punch. Yes, she has. We've been gradually taking things out of the backpack to decrease the load and make it harder for her to affix it to her head. It's taking a while though. I don't think she'll move on to the leaf itself by the end of today, even if she spends every single minute practicing the technique. It would be better if they had a way to gauge Naruto's chakra as she was performing the technique. Quick question. Can anyone here sense chakra? Kakashi asked. If there wasn't anyone he'd have to ask Kurenai, but he didn't think she'd take kindly to him interrupting Team 8's training for his own student. Only mine, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura replied. Sasuke shook his head. Naruto merely looked confused. What do you mean, Pedo-sensei? He was never going to get rid of that moniker, was he? Every ninja naturally has a sense of their chakra, its quantity and quality and how to control it. Some ninja have a kind of sixth sense, to put it that way, and can tell things about other ninjas by detecting chakra, whether through sight, sound, smell, taste or a vague sense of feel. Oh, right, I can do that, Naruto replied. All three of them looked at Naruto and had the exact same thoughts. Why didn't you say that before? And that ability is wasted on someone so dense. Sakura switched back into teaching mode at the new information. Naru-chan, if you can sense chakra, it'll help you learn the leaf training exercise faster. But are you sure you have this ability? Do you have any proof? Sakura asked carefully. Naruto rolled her eyes. I'm not lying, Sakura-chan. Sasuke has depressing gray chakra. You have light green and Pedo-sensei's looks like cat vomit. Sakura stifled a giggle while Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke scowled at Naruto. What about the amount? Sasuke asked Naruto, looking intense. Sakura-chan's is the smallest. Sasuke has more than her. Pido-sensei has even more and I have 4 to 5 times as much as him. That means I'm the best, right? Naruto puffed her chest out proudly. Kakashi noticed Sasuke frowning deeply to himself at her words. Well, that was pleasant. If things kept going that way he was going to develop a superiority-inferiority complex. No, Naruto, he disagreed. We're all better than you because we can actually do the leaf concentration exercise. He smiled. At that Sasuke and Sakura started looking very proud of themselves, when Kakashi reminded them, not that that's a big deal or anything though. He found it amusing when their shoulders drooped again. 12-year-olds could be so predictable. Right, Sakura, Sasuke, if you two could take the other leaves and demonstrate for Naruto here, he gestured. Naruto, pay attention to how much chakra they use and try to copy it, he instructed. Naruto watched closely as both Sakura and Sasuke placed the leaves on their heads with little aplomb and then casually strolled around, leaves firmly staying in place. Did you get that? Kakashi asked. Need another demonstration? I'm good. You'll see, I'll get it down by the time the day is over. She declared. Don't make promises you can't keep, moron, Sasuke cheerfully encouraged. Naruto stuck her tongue out at him. You're the moron. As soon as I get here tomorrow morning I'll do it perfectly, and then you're gonna look like a big idiot. Then, Naruto, I'd like you to stay here and try to get the leaf to stick to your head, to the point you can walk around without it falling off by using the same amount of chakra as Sasuke and Sakura did. Sasuke, Sakura, I'm going to take you two on a special excursion to the Hokage Tower and elaborate on its many functions and facilities. Kakashi's eyes smiled at her and then motioned to the other two to leave with him. Oh joy! More training, Sasuke enthused sarcastically. Don't worry, Sasuke-kun. I heard they have a library in the Hokage Tower with scrolls on all kinds of Konoha techniques and jutsu, Sakura comforted him. Naruto arrived at Training Ground 7 nice and early at 7:30 a.m. She was still yawning, after staying up quite late trying to master the leaf training exercise. Sasuke and Sakura weren't there yet, so Naruto made her way to a nice-looking stump and sprawled against the base. The sun was warm on her face and the temptation to take a brief nap was strong. But she wasn't going to give that jerk, Sasuke, another reason to call her a moron. True, he wasn't being as much of a jerk as usual, but he was still an annoying prick. Naruto was looking forward to taking him down a peg. Sasuke arrived at the clearing next and greeted her with an almost inaudible "HN." At least it was a step up from his squint and you could call them a nods. Taking the stump next to her, he sat down, crossing his arms over his knees and taking in the sun like she was. Shortly afterwards Sakura-chan arrived and greeted them both with a bright smile. Hey, Sakura-chan, how was the tour yesterday? Naruto asked. It was the most boring, most useless waste of time that could have been used for training ever, Sasuke complained. It wasn't that bad. They have a library on Konoha jutsu and techniques, vaults to keep things hidden, a storehouse for surplus ninja gear, some which they sell at half price, the missions desks, shinobi mission and training consultants, council meeting rooms, the Hokage's office, accessibility ramps and… Sakura tried to add some perspective to the conversation but just ended up getting carried away. Naruto quickly cut her off before she could catalog every single feature of the Hokage's tower, up to and including the wood paneling and wide windows for fast shinobi entries and exits. You can show me next time, she grinned at her. Right, maybe next time we finish a mission, Sakura easily agreed. HMPH. Dorks, Sasuke snorted. Yeah, let's see who's laughing the next time you're stuck in the Hokage Tower and can't find the toilets, Naruto snorted. Even the mighty Uchihas don't have limitless bladders, idiot. Against her better will, Sakura began to laugh. Don't worry, Sasuke-kun. I remember where the toilets are, so I can just show you next time, she tried to comfort him. Sasuke turned away with a scoff. I know where the toilets are, he lied. And that was the end of that conversation. So, today's mission? Sakura awkwardly tried to clear the tension. Out of nowhere Kakashi appeared in front of them, dispersing an ominous amount of smoke. Did someone say mission? He asked cheerfully. Sasuke was so startled he immediately shot to his feet and both Naruto and Sakura let out high-pitched screams. Pedo-sensei, what are you trying to do? Give us a heart attack? Naruto yelled at him. Kakashi deflated and despondently started walking away from them. Well, I just came here to deliver our next mission, but if you're going to be like that, he trailed off. Sasuke appeared in front of him with startling speed, pointing a kunai directly at the pocket where he knew Kakashi liked to keep his icha-icha. Kakashi hastily covered his pocket with his hands and gave the kunai a wary look. Stop, Sasuke ordered. We want the mission? Something seemed to occur to him and he glared suspiciously at Kakashi. Is this a real mission, this time? He asked. Kakashi melodramatically raised both his eyebrows, even though he knew the gesture would be lost under the folds of his mask. Sasuke, you wound me. I handpicked this mission for all of you after witnessing your impressive teaching skills yesterday. As an aside, he looked at Sakura and added, seriously, you should consider a career in teaching. While Sakura blushed at the praise, Sasuke eagerly, for Sasuke, took the scroll and unwound it. Carrying hot water to a hot spa because they're having issues with their plumbing, is a mission you handpicked for us? Sasuke dryly asked. Yes, Kakashi answered. I know you're a teenage boy, raging hormones and all, so I decided to help you out. You can carry all the water by yourself and the girls can admire your biceps from a safe distance. Naruto, as usual, completely missed the point. Pedo-sensei, I'm sure I have much bigger biceps than Sasuke. I can carry twice as much as he can, believe it. Sakura frowned. I wouldn't be doing a good job at becoming a better shinobi if I let Sasuke-kun do all the hard labor, she disagreed. Sasuke merely waved his kunai menacingly at the direction of Kakashi's icha-icha paradise, hidden away behind his hands. A bead of sweat materialized at Kakashi's brow and rolled down, disappearing into the folds of his mask. Ahaha, I was joking, you guys. Seriously, there is something wrong with my students and their lack of hormones, he privately thought to himself. When they finally finished their mission, they were all soaked to varying degrees. Sakura was absolutely drenched, she'd had the most trouble carrying the pails of water and it showed. Sasuke was only a little damp since he'd only gotten splashed when collecting and depositing the water and if Sakura had dropped any nearby. Naruto had been running around like a demented chipmunk, trying to carry more than Sasuke, so obviously she ended up completely soaking. Then, halfway through the mission she had a brainwave and sent a clone back home to bring her a raincoat. After that, she stayed completely dry. Another great job, guys, Kakashi smiled. The owner was so pleased with the help they gave us all a ticket for one trip to the spa. Naruto and Sakura both looked excited when they collected their tickets but Sasuke merely glanced at his before putting it in his pocket. And here's a tally for all of you. Naruto 5 points for having the foresight to use a raincoat. Sasuke 6 points for spilling the least water and working the most efficiently and Sakura 3 points for trying your best and persevering. Mine is kind of lame, thought Sakura. What are the points for? Sasuke asked. I'm glad you asked, Sasuke. Based on your performance in every mission and training session I've decided to award you all points. At the end of the month, the ninja with the most points will be the ninja of the month. Whoever wins ninja of the month, wins some specialized training that I will personally arrange for them. Ooh, training, Naruto thought. If I win ninja of the month and get the training, it'll help me protect Sasuke-kun. Sakura thought. I have to win, thought Sasuke. Awesome, right? By the way, I won't tell you the point tallies but Naruto got the most mission points yesterday and Sakura got the most training points yesterday for being such a good sport and teaching Naruto so well. Currently, Sasuke is in the lead. At this Sasuke smirked. By 1 point. He stopped smirking. Now let's go do a bit of pre-lunch training, and then we can all get together and have our first lunch as a team, Kakashi smiled. Naruto ran ahead of them to the clearing and then waited impatiently for the rest of them to arrive. Pedo-sensei, look at this. She shouted. She had a leaf in her hand. Placing the leaf on her head the same way as Sakura and Sasuke had, she channeled the same amount of chakra they had demonstrated before and got it to stick. Then she walked around, laughed, started running, scaled a tree, jumped down and did a few cartwheels. All with the leaf stuck to her head. Show off, thought Sasuke. Good job, Naruto. I didn't expect you'd grasp this technique so fast. Kakashi complimented her. That's 15 points for learning the technique in one day. Naruto flushed proudly. She didn't bother telling him that she had stayed up till 4 a.m. trying to master it. And also, minus 10 points for not already learning the technique in the academy, Kakashi added. Naruto pouted. Mean, she thought. She turned to smirk at Sasuke all the same. Now, who looked like an idiot? To her annoyance, he appeared to be too busy cataloging his kunai to pay any attention to her. Jerk. Since Naruto has mastered the first stage of the leaf concentration training, we will be moving on to the next stage, he declared. Naruto, take your leaf and affix it to the middle of your stomach. Sakura, you take yours and affix it to your shoulder. And Sasuke, he smirked. Sasuke had a bad feeling about this. Affix your leaf to your right buttock, he ordered. Naruto immediately started sniggering. I will not do that, he protested. Sakura, tell him that's a stupid idea. He turned to the only other somewhat normal member of his team for help, but to his shame she had started sniggering herself. For someone who was supposed to be on his side, she didn't seem to have any reservations laughing at him. Sorry, Sasuke-kun. I'm not usually this immature but He couldn't hear the rest of her apology through the heavy laughs she was trying to smother. Since that avenue of aid was cut off, he simply did what he did best. Sheesh, stop giving me the stink eye already. It's not really helping my opinion on your maturity. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Humor aside, there's actually a point to all this. The stomach is nearest to the majority of the chakra reservoir, so it requires far less chakra to attach the leaf. The shoulder has less than the head, which is the nerve center for the chakra coils, and the buttocks, as the biggest muscle in the body, also have a large amount of chakra, requiring less for the leaf. Mastering affixing the leaf in different locations will teach you about variances in chakra and help you determine the amounts you're using. Without this crucial second stage, all that you will learn from the leaf concentration exercise will be to maintain a steady flow of chakra in one spot, which is usually far from helpful in a shinobi battle, he explained. Immediately, they all took their leaves and affixed them to their respective body parts, Sasuke, very reluctantly so. Only Sakura's managed to stick. Good job, Sakura. You must have naturally high chakra control, Kakashi complimented, and Sakura flushed again. So, what we will be doing is this. While sparring, I want you all to split your concentration and have the leaf sticking perfectly to you while we spar. I will be rotating battles between the three of you while the other two fight, correcting any imbalances, any use of incorrect stance, and gauging your grasp on basic taijutsu. After you master keeping the leaf affixed in your described location, you will move on to a new location. This will happen 10 times, and by that time, you will have mastered the second stage of the leaf training exercise and be able to affix the leaf to any part of your body. The conditions for the exercise are this. Use only taijutsu to spar, and every time your leaf detaches itself, you must disengage from the spar and do 10 push-ups. Before each sparring match, you will be given 10 minutes to practice affixing your leaf and… Oh, this speech has already taken up 2 minutes. You better get started. Kakashi smiled and walked back over to his stump to read for the remaining 8 minutes. His 3 cute students all looked at him incredulously. That's unfair. He's just being a huge jerk. Naruto complained. Kakashi-sensei, my ass. More like jerkass-sensei. Sakura grumbled. Ironically, she didn't even seem to have any need to practice as her leaf was sticking to her just fine. Sasuke agreed, as his leaf just slid off his shorts, again. Did someone say something about asses? Kakashi looked up from his orange-covered book. No. Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto all glared at him. They're so sensitive at that age, Kakashi thought to himself with a not insignificant amount of amusement. Sakura gasped, flopping down on the ground as Kakashi concluded his spar with her. Kakashi turned to look at her. Taijutsu, perfect textbook form but otherwise. Sakura blushed. She already knew what he was going to say next. Sakura, you're strong. Huh? Sakura looked at him in surprise. Did he just say what I thought he said? You're strong. Even our mission earlier today, at the beginning I have no doubt you could have carried 5 pails at the same time if it was possible to do so. At the end, you could barely carry half a pail. Sakura flushed in embarrassment. I wasn't trying to slack off or anything. Kakashi smiled at her. I know that. I gave you points for working hard, remember? Lamest thing to be awarded forever, Sakura thought. The problem is you have naturally low stamina. You're very quick to fatigue, I wonder. Did you ever get sick as a kid? He asked. Sakura nodded. All the time, Kakashi-sensei. I have a lot of allergies that my family only really found out about in hindsight, and I was always getting really bad hay fever. Why? She asked curiously. Basically, your body spent more time healing itself than other kids who were out, running around and gradually building muscles and stamina, busy being active. All your time spent indoors didn't really work out in your favor, he explained. Well, that sucks, Sakura commented. Yeah, Kakashi sighed. The diet that your records mentioned probably didn't help with the whole youthful energy thing, either. Oh god, I sound like Guy, he thought. I think we're going to have to get you some specialized help to get you back up to genin level standards. When we finish training today, I'll take you to see a nutrition specialist in the Hokage Tower, since I don't think merely dropping your diet is going to work. I'll organize a joint training session with a taijutsu specialist I know, and if he agrees, he can get you started on wearing body weights, which will gradually increase your stamina. I'll also see about getting a training schedule set up for you, with exercises you can do to build up your body in our off time. Quote, Kakashi leaned over and ruffled Sakura's hair. Sakura, you are strong. It's just a disadvantage, so you don't have to look so dismayed. Naruto and Sasuke have their disadvantages too. Really, sensei? Really? My arms are starting to hurt, thought Naruto. Pairing her and Sasuke up had to be the worst idea ever, because both of them kept dropping their leaf and interrupting their spar for push-ups. They were both starting to see some progress, they could partially attach them now, but any particularly energetic sparring and they just fell off again. Hey, Sasuke, feeling tired yet? Naruto taunted. Sasuke had taken to fixing his leaf to him while he did the push-ups now and seeing how far he could go. If anyone's tired, it's you, moron, Sasuke retorted. Naruto did a few more push-ups and sighed. The push-ups weren't going to help her master the leaf training exercise stage 2. Oi, Pedo-sensei, can I switch to sit-ups instead? She yelled. Kakashi yelled back an affirmation and Naruto changed position and stuck the leaf to her stomach. Then she turned her head and smirked at Sasuke. The silent challenge was clear. Now we're on equal ground. Annoyed that Naruto was ripping off his idea and that now she would probably improve at the same rate as him, Sasuke began performing his push-ups faster. I'll finish first and prove my superiority, he thought. Naruto glared at him and started doing her sit-ups faster too. They finished at the same time. Time to spar, Sasuke-chan, Naruto invited, cracking her knuckles threateningly. Sasuke glowered. You won't know what's hit you, bitch. As when they jumped towards each other and started an all-out brawl. Naruto was fast but Sasuke was faster. She was agile though and easily changed positions and moves according to the situation. This brawl was shaping up to be pretty challenging. Naruto grinned fiercely at him when she caught him around the neck, but Sasuke merely head-butted her hard enough to draw blood, if it wasn't for the forehead protector that is. OWWWW, thought Sasuke. Naruto was back on her feet immediately and attempting to side-kick him into submission. Sasuke drew back, planning to circle around her and attack from her unprotected side. Morons, sighed Kakashi looking at both of them. Reluctantly he got up and made his way over to the two of them. He grabbed them by their collars and pulled them away from each other and up into the air. I said, spar, not start a bar fight. He reminded them. He started it, Naruto yelled. She glared venomously at Sasuke and he glared back. Oh, stop it. You're both idiots. Where are your leaves? Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other. They'd forgotten about the leaves. Sakura walked over with the leaves in her palm. They were dirty and one of them had blood on it. I found them over there, sensei, she said, pointing to a spot a considerable distance away. Really? Kakashi gave both his obnoxious genin an exasperated look. For today's training session, Sakura gets 20 points for doing as she was told, he stressed. He looked at both of them to drive the point home and saw something that gave him pause. Why'd I see bite marks? Who was biting? He sighed in exasperation. Naruto and Sasuke both looked away from him, refusing to answer. Well, if they were going to be like that. Sorry, Sakura, but it looks like you have competition. Naruto and Sasuke have already been exchanging love bites, it seems. Sakura blushed and gave Naruto a look of betrayal. Naruto immediately started panicking. That's not what it was, Sakura-chan. I was just trying to bite off his finger, I swear. Kinky, commented Kakashi. You, Naruto gave him a flat look. Are such an ass. So it was you. Kakashi suddenly roared, taking all of them by surprise. What type of taijutsu is biting? Is that a new technique? Both of you are idiots. Naruto and Sasuke both finally started to look a little bit ashamed. I don't mind healthy rivalries, but being competitive to the point that you forget about your original objective is. Not even a ninja at the academy would be so stupid. When I meet you tomorrow I expect 5,000 lines on the importance of teamwork, a lesson I thought you already understood. From the both of you, and for now we will be switching over our combatants. Sakura, you take Naruto, and Sasuke, you're with me. Kakashi finished angrily and dropped Naruto, walking away, still carrying Sasuke by the collar. I've never seen Pedo-sensei get so angry before. Naruto stared, eyes open wide. You're ridiculous, Sakura sighed. I at least thought Sasuke would have some sense, but no, biting each other was more important. Sakura glared at her. You're never going to let that go, are you? Naruto asked fearfully. In answer, Sakura gave her a wide, pleasant smile. Naruto, let's spar. I have a bad feeling about this, thought Naruto. 5 spars later it was lunchtime. Kakashi rounded up all 3 of them and got ready to enter lecture mode. I was going to take you all out for lunch, but that was before Naruto and Sasuke started acting like such morons. He glared at them. Their idiocy seemed to have finally sunk in, because they both flushed and looked away. He sighed heavily. I know that you kids are all 12-year-olds and I don't expect you to start acting like adults anytime soon. But a ninja has to be more mature, more intelligent and more capable. A ninja 12-year-old doesn't get to live like a normal 12-year-old. We have responsibilities, duties. People's lives hang in the balance whenever we feel like doing our day job. Kakashi pointed to a stone monument in the clearing across from them. Do you see that stone? They were all too busy listening to his words in rapt attention to answer. On that monument are the names of some of the greatest heroes of the Leaf Village. On that monument, he paused for emphasis, are the names of the heroes with which we would not be alive today. Heroes that gave their lives in battle so that Konoha could continue to prosper. And on that monument are the names of my former teammates and Junin-sensei. As ninja you have to know that completing the mission is tantamount to everything else. They say that in your textbooks, right? He asked Sakura. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura replied, sounding unusually subdued. That's wrong. A ninja who abandons the mission is trash. But even more important is the fact that if a ninja ever abandons his comrade, he is worse than trash. Because I failed to understand these principles, I disrespected my father's sacrifice and even worse. I lost my best friend. Kakashi had to pause and gather up his courage before he could continue. Would they see him differently after this? But it had to be said. So he told them about his father and about Obito, though he left out the details regarding his Sharingan. He'd tell Sasuke a little later, when he'd matured a bit more. I want all of you to cherish each other, but more important than that is you. Each of you. What you need your teammates to cover your deficiencies, to complement your strengths, to have your back so that you can concentrate on battle without worrying about a stray kunai slicing through you. I don't mind if you have rivalries, if you tease each other, you can even dislike each other, but the minute you lose sight of your goals and lose your teamwork it's over. And it's that minute, just 1 minute, in the middle of battle that someone can die. From now on, I don't want to see any of you compromise your teamwork because of your pride, your ego or any other reason ever again. He glared at them. I'm sorry Kakashi-sensei. And Sasuke, I'm sorry too, Naruto quietly mumbled. Sasuke couldn't quite overcome his pride to say sorry, so instead he shook her hand. Kakashi didn't protest. That was probably the closest the Uchiha heir could get to an apology for now. Sakura nodded her head. I won't forget, Kakashi-sensei. She told him, and by her tone of voice he knew she wouldn't. All right, as long as you remember, he sighed. Bringing up old wounds like that had affected him more than he was willing to show. Because of Naruto and Sasuke, no one else gets lunch. This is a punishment, but it's also a form of training. In the future there will be many times when you will be unable to fully rest or sat yourself. It's good if you can get used to the feeling of fighting at less than 100% early on, so that you become accustomed to it and draw out more strength in battle. Sakura, you didn't do anything wrong, but since this is also a form of training, you shouldn't skip it. For you especially, this is important training. Naruto, Sasuke, I suggest you apologize to your teammate. He hinted. Sorry Sakura-chan. Naruto apologized shamefacedly. I regret the imposition of this restraint upon you, Sasuke offered. He still couldn't bring himself to say sorry. It's okay, Sakura replied, eyes wide. Like Kakashi-sensei said, this training will benefit me too. Now that that's taken care of, the three of you will now all spar against each other at the same time. Handling battles with multiple opponents is also an important shinobi skill, though at the academy your battles are usually fought one-on-one. I will be observing from a distance so I don't distract you. Taijutsu only, no biting or scratching. He joked. Sasuke and Naruto still looked uncomfortable. Kakashi returned to his stump and pulled his book back out again. Though his speech had a profound effect on his students, they still lost respect for him at that moment. Is he really going to observe? Naruto muttered. Congratulations on passing the second stage of the leaf training exercise. Kakashi congratulated his panting students. I never want to see another leaf again, Sasuke complained. Naruto and Sakura rapidly nodded their agreement. Was it that bad? Kakashi asked them in mock surprise. You know it was. Naruto yelled. Having us spar each other was fine, but then you made us all battle you and you kicked our asses. She shouted. Sasuke and Sakura glared at him. I just didn't want any of you getting the mistaken idea that by teaming up you could defeat a Junin, he chuckled. His words did not help matters. If anything, their glaring intensified. Anyway, I'll let all of you take a short break and then we'll move on to the third stage of the leaf training exercise. Kakashi cheerfully announced. Sakura almost broke into tears. There's more? Oh, great. I'm gonna be able to stick leaves to my butt so well by the end of this day, Sasuke flatly expressed. Woo, ooh, more leaves. Even Naruto's horrible attempt at her usual optimism couldn't save the gloomy atmosphere. I love my job, Kakashi smirked.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.